Can you check it out now?
Testing, testing. You guys hear me now? I think you can hear me now. I can see it.
Mm.
Let me know if you guys can hear me now. Yes. Okay, fantastic. Hello, Candy. Let's see here. Thank you very much, Rolling Thunder, coming in early with the donation. I really appreciate that, brother. Actions speak louder than words. Those of you who are curious about my GoFundMe, it is still up and still needing donations, of course. We are close to $5,000. We really need help getting that up. So please, guys, donate as much as you can, as quickly as you can, to help me get this done, so I can focus on other things and move on forward away from this thing, guys. Please. But today we're going to get into it, guys. We're going to deal with the third part of the Matrix. We're going to talk about how to unplug from the Matrix, how to stop being manipulated and controlled by the Matrix, right? So before I get started, I'm just going to say hey to a few people. Nandy, what's going on? I think the face and the name has changed. You was called something else. Rosie D, what's going on? She says, greeting Earthlings. Denise, welcome in. Martin, welcome in. Why People Watch, hello. Donna Givens, welcome in. D. Harrell, welcome in. Inner Quest, welcome in. Thank you very much, Inner Quest. No name Rose D. Say good evening. Thank you. Hola to you, Charlene. Key himself, nobody beats errands. Stupid, man. I used to work there. I used to run an errand, so I used to say that all the time. Do the math. Nobody beats errands. Yep, Meal High 33. That's what it was. See, I got a good memory. I knew the face was different. Shondell, what's going on, brother? Marco, what's going on? Hello, Eden. I see you. Welcome in. Eddie Sandage. Ankh and Ma'at Anahuru. Sending love and light from the lighthouse. Shout out to the lighthouse. Indeed. Flower Child 7778 says, hey, kid. What's going on, Flower Child? D Ham, peace, peace. Chrissy XOXO. First time in? Well, welcome in. It's your first time. Welcome in, Chrissy. Hopefully you enjoy it. What we do here is we just talk. We rap. We try to break down different things that we learn in many places and bring them all in one place. I see what we can find. It's not so much about being right or wrong or pushing what we believe on anyone else. It's about being free, right? Allowing your mind to be able to just learn freely, no bias, anything like that. So that's what we're about. Thank you, InnerQuest, for welcoming Chrissy in, new to the group. Thank you, Marco, for doing that. Eden says, Josh, you can't hide. Brick, what's good? YouTube been trying to convert anybody else to Christianity lately. You know they stay doing that. RD, what's going on? Bevelin, what's going on? Eric Bruner, what's going on? Hey, listen, guys, I see you on YouTube, Facebook, of course, commenting as always. If you'd like for me to be able to respond to your comments, though, you want to come to YouTube. That's where I respond to comments. What's good, Jordan? Indeed, brother, I'm honored. It's my pleasure to be able to bring this information and things like that to you guys. Force us all to think about things we otherwise would never think about. Absolutely. He himself. I hear you. You know, a robot would finish that, right? We're not robots over here. Well, welcome back in, Phoebe. Glad to see you come back in. Vic, what's good? I'm all right. I hope everything's good with you guys, too. What's up, Peeps? What's up, Kevin Charles? I see you, brother. Brother Jabari, I'm not sure. Jay. Not by the first name, not right off. Peace and love, Sharon Norman. Indeed, Nathaniel. Thank you very much, Miss J. So we're going to talk about it a little bit, guys. So far, the last 2 weeks, we've been talking about the Matrix and what the Matrix is exactly. What have you guys taken from the last 2 weeks if you've been watching? I just want to read and see what you guys are saying. If you have any questions, too, go ahead and put those in as well. I'll try to answer as many as I can before we get going. But what have you guys taken from or learned from the last 2 weeks of this discussion about the Matrix and what is the Matrix and what the Matrix does to us, what it means to be a part of the Matrix or under the Matrix spell, number one. So let me know. Thank you very much, Brian. We're about to get that started up real soon, too. And again, we keeping it simple. A voiceover video with hey, email me, Lamont. I'm not sure exactly what you mean there. Just email me. Josh, if you don't mind, put it in there, put the email in there for him so he can be able to get that too. A system built to control, right? Nathaniel Johnson says, do for yourself and be yourself. So I would like to get at you, brother. Tell you my personal story. Okay.
What email?
Okay, Tyrell.
Which email?
Just the one that's more convenient for him to email me. You can just put him out. Kevin D. Wesley is fine. D. Ham, thank you very much for the donation. I really appreciate that. Actions speak louder than words. Man, respect. That everyone could be an agent. Absolutely, everyone can be an agent. The Matrix is an illusory world. Absolutely, it is an illusion. Agents pop up whenever you question someone's belief system. Absolutely. I love that, Shondell. Thank you very much. That's a very good point. And the quest says the Matrix is about mass control, monetary gain, and programming. Absolutely. Jordan Ship says it's definitely real, and once you're out of the Matrix, you realize that there is a lot we don't know. Absolutely true. Absolutely true. Much love to you, Gamma. He himself says that nothing is real. Absolutely. Everything is just a uh, based on your sensory systems, right? What Morpheus told Neo. Nothing. What is real besides what your senses tell you is real? You know, you think something is real because you can feel it when you touch it or taste it when you put it in your mouth. But does that really make it real, or is that just is that just real to you? You see, so what is real outside of anything sensory? Words can be spells, absolutely. Words are spells, absolutely. King Callie. Ray McCoy says, no matter what we do, we're still going to be in the Matrix. Way ahead of me. Absolutely, brother. Today is about unplugging from the Matrix, but long story short, we will always be a part of the Matrix. Number one, because we're always going to be trying to recover and relieve people from the Matrix. We have many people that we love, family members and all, stuck inside the Matrix and don't even know that they're in a Matrix. They think the world that they're in and contributing to is 100% real. And so we're always going to be plugging into the Matrix, and simply because the Matrix is who has the power, we're not going to be able to unplug from it. So what we're going to be talking about today is how to maneuver the Matrix, understanding when to speak and when not to speak, so to speak. Siki himself said, like diamonds value only come from the value that we give them. They are not rare. Absolutely. They are not rare at all. Your actions have enlightened my life. The least I could do. Thank you very much, D-Ham. So like he himself said, diamonds, the only value that they have is the value that we give to them. We talked about it in our first session. We talked about what the ego was. If you guys don't mind, tell me what the ego is. What is ego? Greetings, Riri. Welcome in. It's real to your physical body, the matrix, but other than that, that reality is beyond this physical world. What's up, I am set? Absolutely, Goku fanboy. Thank you very much, Shondell. Sorry to bother you. It's another symbolic movie. Okay. Sorry to bother you. I'm going to check that. Is that on Netflix or whatever? Let me know, Shondell. Thank you, Comfortable Life. I just had an appointment on last Friday where they put me to sleep and did the um, endoscopy, where they put air into your stomach to look at the inside of the intestinal walls to see if they could find cancer. That takes about 10 days for it to come back. But I did have stomach ulcers that they said was, of course, caused due to stress. I don't take any of the medicines or eat any of the foods that could cause that. So it's the only thing it could be. Many people say, hey, don't worry about the cancer, man. Hey, don't worry. But it's more so monetary reasons that I've been worried the last 2 years. So if anybody knows my story, they know what I mean. Tyrell said, how much hate did I get coming out as an atheist or as a non-believer? Tyrell, I got a lot of hate. Man, believe me, death threats and all. Again, we talked about the matrix and people being agents. The moment you say out loud that you don't contribute to the belief system of the majority, people are going to automatically hate you and project their anger on you as if you are the problem when really their belief is. Because if it weren't, they wouldn't have to believe in it. They would know what they believe, or know exactly what it is that they are practicing. Were you about to say something, Josh?
No, I was not. No.
Okay. Okay, Key himself says the ego is the self I was given at birth. Absolutely. Iron Charioteer says the self. Right. The standard you put for yourself. Absolutely. Thank you very much, Begging for Change. Just saw that. Absolutely. The only guys that we need is each other, and the only God I need is you. What's up, family?
Rick is such a good dude, man.
Man, he really is, man. And that's the one thing I can say that I really do like about I could say I guess my new reality, walking away from the belief system that I have to now, is that I have had some really really awesome people come into my life since I walked away from religion, and Ricky's more than definitely one of them. So absolutely. Let's see here. Oh yeah, law Genesis, death threats for not believing. Absolutely, bro. And that ain't even the worst. I mean, insult your character, everything they can do to try to humiliate you and make themselves, I guess, feel better. If you're challenging their way of belief, their way of life, I guess the only thing that can make them feel more comfortable is to diminish you in some way. They need to somehow make you look illegitimate, right? So if they can say that you're a sinner, never was saved, never was a preacher, never was anything, to try to humiliate you or assume that you are angry, so they'll attribute and then start again projecting different things onto you without even knowing your story. They just come right out and assume it. You must be mad at God. You must just want to live your life. You must have been practicing other stuff anyway. Why would you be researching other stuff anyway? Just things that people say to protect their paradigm. Thank you very much, Brian Caldwell, and I most certainly will. A Comfortable Life, the donation tabs are in the description as well. Let's see here. I'm just trying to read every one of you guys' things. It says, that's why I call myself Sid or Satan, because I represent people who are afraid to come out atheists. I like that. So even without religion, humans will still have the ego, the self or the ego. Religion has failed, was failed attempt to control the self. I hear you. Let's see, what's the name on that one? Iron Charioteer. Anyone who degrades another person operates from the ego. Absolutely. So it sounds like we understand what the ego is. What's up, the Anthony Brown Show? What's going on, brother? So we understand what the ego is. The ego is who you think you are. The ego is the things that your flesh man desires, right? In Christianity, they call it the flesh, right? So you're taught to stay away from worldly things or things that your flesh desires, fleshly desires, they would call them. So we do understand what it means to be in your ego, right? To desire things that they told your ego to desire when you were growing up in life through advertisement and things of that nature. For instance, they did a test where they took people and they didn't blindfold them like they normally would do. You know how they have like the orange juice commercials on TV and they blindfold the people and they pick out which one tastes the best. Well, what they do is this right here. Appreciate that, I am said. Um, what they did is they took and switched the brands though. So if you line a bunch of people up and you have them to taste Heinz ketchup and then a off-brand ketchup, they switch the brand, right? Heinz with the off-brand and the off-brand, of course, with Heinz. So the people, when they were eating this ketchup, they still said that Heinz was the best. Okay, now these are people who recently did this test and has already said Heinz was the best by tasting Heinz the first time that was in the Heinz bottle, the correct uh, ketchup. Now it's flip flopped, and they're still saying that the wrong one is the best. But is it because they were deceived? Is it because that they went to the one that was branded, the actual ketchup that they actually knew? You see, and because they in their mind they told themselves that Heinz is going to be better, they automatically said, okay, Heinz tastes better than this brand I've never heard anything about. So this is what I mean by advertising. The moment that the brain decides to purchase something, it's going to purchase the item that has been in front of its eyes the most, right? This is why people put so much money in advertising to get their products in front of you, to have you spend money on their product over another one. In a lot of cases, the product that you're purchasing doesn't really have anything over the next product. It's just the product that you were more aware of, right? So let's just take Western thought. Here's where we grow up. We grow up in Western thought, right? The number one thing with Western thought is the Western thought of religion, right? So whether it be Judaism, whether it be Islam, or whether it be Christianity, the whole concept is that the world was created from nothing by a kingly being, right? A infinite being, a being that's everywhere at the same time and that represents everything that is all good, right? Can't make a mistake. He knows everything. This is Western thinking, right? And so we know that the literature, as it pertains to Western thinking, says that the world or the universe began with the word, right? In the beginning was the word. Now, this is just Western thought, but let's just talk about that. Just dealing with Western thought alone, that in itself may not sound that bad, right? Growing up with the idea that a king of everything, a creator of everything, created the universe, you and everything else in it, and therefore you must reverence it, worship it, bow down to it, right? On the face of it, to a child, these things don't sound like tyranny, right? They don't sound like bullying. But as you get older, you realize that they do. When you contribute to the matrix, you don't really think about what you're doing and what you're contributing to. So this is why I'm going back through the basics of initially how we get our brain, right? How we get our way of thinking. So let's just talk about this. What would make you bow to another person? Let's just answer that question for me. What would make you bow to another human being? Being that you're not from a culture where you have to bow to another human being, what would make you bow to another human being? Fear. Right on. Fear. Fear. So for fear of my life, absolutely. See, that's not a, I guess that's not a difficult question. Thank you very much, Rosie, for the donation on PayPal, and also thank you very much, Nebraska Wade. And I apologize for saying your last name. Most people that donate there don't want their names called, so forgive me on that. Let's see here. Hypnosis is training the subconscious mind. Absolutely, it is. Submission, fear, supernatural power. Inner Quest says nothing today. I'll never bow down. Right, but even to have that that courage to say that now presupposes the fact that it takes fear or some type of fear for your life to kneel, right, or to bow down. Now here, Craig Hooker said respect, like as in for martial arts. Absolutely, okay. There's a respect that just comes with the typical greeting, right? However, this is not something that you have to do, right? So, right, I like that. I like that. Pay homage. Now, I feel the same way. I secretly can't stand to hear the word God. It's a subconscious pet peeve, and I'm actually going to go over that too. So we're talking about kneeling down. So Craig Hooker said, sometimes when it comes to a greeting or just simply that it's tradition, people kneel to one another. But we're talking about a bow, so to speak, when it comes to martial arts in terms of a respect. That's a quick bow. We're talking about when it comes to religion or a king, people actually would kneel when these kings would present themselves, right? Or when they were in the presence of a king. And what else could cause that but tyranny, but a tyrant, but a person who is doing tyrannical behavior, to be honest, or to be frank. They provoke or evoke some type of fear in you. Absolutely. Tim Thomas said, we're weaker, we're stronger. They make you feel weaker, but they're stronger. This goes on in today's life. We know that we don't have a king that we have to reverence, but have you ever been to court? Anybody that has ever been to court, they know that you must carry yourself in a certain way. When that judge comes out, you must stand. You must stand to show that judge complete reverence, right? Complete submission, honor even, right? You must speak to this judge in a certain manner and conduct yourself in a certain way while you are in his matrix, or he can put you in jail and call it contempt. Even if you didn't do anything that legally broke the law, he can put you in jail simply for making him mad, because that is his world. That is his courtroom, right? That is his matrix. So we do know that there are places within our own matrix where we have to submit our very being to someone else's leadership and rulership, their law. And we all know that when you go into a courtroom, you're not going to act any kind of way. You're going to automatically carry yourself the way they say carry yourself. You're not going to talk in a courtroom. You're going to not have your phone. They're going to check you when you come in. And as soon as you hit that door, you already begin to behave as if you're in a place where you're supposed to act a certain way. Shondell Thomas says, yep, just like they God. Absolutely. Even Adele says facts. This is absolute facts, guys. So when you think about this, yes, your honor. Absolutely. You refer to him as your honor, someone who is above you. At this moment, it doesn't matter what that man goes home and does. This is what I'm telling you about being fooled by the matrix. When you're standing in front of this judge, it is completely irrelevant what this man does at home. The only reason that you're giving him this reverence is because he is wearing a robe. And someone else told you that you must do it. And you know that if you do not do it in the way that they tell you to, that there will be consequences, correct? Tell me if I'm right or wrong. You do not know this judge personally, yet you offer him respect and honor. Charioteer said, Most High, Almighty. Absolutely. Absolutely. And of course, that's on point. And even with the police, absolutely. We know when to plug back into the matrix and act like we're a part of it. As soon as we get pulled over, we all know how to act, right? Because we know the consequences. We know what can happen from one wrong move. Tamasha Hunter says in other countries it's actually my honor. Right. Absolutely. Like they're your mother or father, like they fathered you. Absolutely. And so whenever you walk into a courtroom, you know that your being is submission to theirs, right? So what they say goes. If they tell you to hush and shut up right there on the spot, you got to do it. So this is the God that people serve now. One who demands that you kneel. You understand what I'm saying? One that demands that you, before you can approach him, you must do this, and this right. You can't have this, and this wrong with you. You can't have a flat nose. Your testicles must be intact. You can't be lame in your feet, right? You can't have a bad eye, right? All these different things, right? So you see what I'm saying here? It's a lot of problems when it comes to approaching God. You have to be clean and perfect and all these things before he will even allow you in his presence, such as a king would demand. This is Western thinking, right? So this is how we grew up thinking that this type of behavior, a God would operate with this type of behavior, would operate how a man with power would behave, a God. I actually agree, D-Ham. I said that in one of my songs, um, the best way to send a message is to stand, never kneel. And someone said I was dissing Colin Kaepernick, and I wasn't. I was just saying we're not ever supposed to hit our knees. Take a stand. We're never supposed to hit our knees, man. That has not solved any problems at all. Obviously what he was doing was making a statement. So this wasn't about Colin Kaepernick necessarily, but my point was, in order to make a stand, you can't kneel, right? That's an oxymoron. You can't stand if you're kneeling, right? You can't take a stand if you're kneeling. So just keep that in mind. Absolutely. Sosa said it. Can we get some more likes? Like it and share it. Share it, guys. Let us know you like the information and try to get that information to more people. Can we take a few minutes, guys, and just share and like the video for me? If you're on Facebook, please share it. Send it to someone. Tell them to watch. Send it to somebody's message box. So you've got what you have the you've got where you have Western thinking, where you have all of creation pretty much spoken to existence by an all-powerful deity or a king, right? And now because he's the king, everyone now must kneel in reverence or even fear to this now eternal being that can do no wrong and he's eternal, right? This is the Western thinking. But if you go over to Hindu thinking, they say the world was created with what they call Vak. It's Sanskrit. VAC, VAC, which literally means vibration. So these are different thoughts. To say that the world was created with a word, meaning that a God had to speak this word, gives all power to this now God or being, right? But if you say the world was created with a vibration, that we can work with that a little bit more. You're not presupposing all of the power to one eternal being, saying that this person is all powerful, therefore we must make him happy or be punished by this being who didn't even have to create us, but did anyway, right? But this is just these two small concepts are things that can actually change the way you actually think overall. Neo was said, Morpheus told Neo that the worlds that they were in training, he called them constructs. Interesting that beliefs are constructs, right? And so everywhere he took Neo to train, he was calling these places constructs, right? These are not real places. They're set up by someone else. And if you are going to be involved in a construct, you're going to be under the person who created that construct's rules and laws, making you susceptible to being controlled by that person or the construct itself, right? If you have a belief in Christianity, there can be no one older than Adam because that's the construct for you. There can be not a single living soul being older than Adam to you. The earth cannot be older than 12 to 15,000 years old because that is your construct. God can't do anything wrong because your construct is that he's good all the time, right? And so this right here is the construct of a believer, right? Even when it comes to the Council of Nicaea or King James, these are titles that are given to men by men, right? And we tend to believe that an almighty God, his literature was put together and canonized by a council, right? And a king and bishops. And because these people they have titles, now it means more that they are the people who said, let's put this book together for the people. But they left books out, right? And it wasn't even by carefully choosing which books would be in the book. If they fell off the table, they were automatically excluded from the Bible, right? And even after the Bible was created, they went back and took some books out and added some books in. And so we believe that because men gave these men titles, that they would be now qualified to handle or manipulate or change the actual words of a God who really is real and told people to write his literature only so other people could change his literature who were deemed qualified with titles. This is the matrix we live in. And because they have titles, now that must mean something powerful, right? Even in our world, if a person has a certain degree, right, or they have a certain title due to graduating from a certain school, they'll be respected more by what they say. And if they got their degree at this school, then they'll be respected more than if they got a degree at Harvard, they'll be respected more than if they got a degree at Isothermal Community College, right? Even if it's the exact same subject, because the matrix is going to tell you that because they studied in this building versus this building, then this person who studied in this building must be more qualified or would have learned more because they didn't study in that building, right? And if you're contributing to the matrix, you'll believe it really just that easily. Levels of classism, absolutely. So if you take even that, starting off from a child, given the idea that your God created the universe, not that the world started from a vibration, because see, let's just deal with this, okay? When you take, like, okay, for instance, for us, right now I'm talking on a computer. I can choose to understand this computer on a really basic level, like I understand it now. Like Josh understands a computer way more than I do, right? Josh is a computer technician, so he can go into my computer from wherever he is and fix things and work on things. That's why he's always available when I do the podcast, because he knows a lot more about computers than me. So my knowledge of a computer is really surface level, right? But now Josh can go way deeper into that computer, correct? But now there's someone who knows how to build this computer from scratch, right? There's someone who's broken this computer down even more than Josh. See, Josh can use the computer, right? Josh may can even pick different parts and create a computer from parts. But in terms of being able to form the screen and everything that goes into making a computer, someone else would have more information than myself or Josh would have. What I'm saying is things go deeper than what we think in our very own knowledge. And if you are living your life based on a construct, how else would you have that information? If I only spend my life inside a computer classroom learning to type ASDF, and then the other finger starting from, I guess, the apostrophe or whatever going into J, I can never learn how to break a computer down and build it back up, right? Because I'm only going to learn simple base level stuff. Now, I can do a whole lot by learning to type. That's going to help me to be able to do a lot, but it's not all there is to know about this computer, right? The problem with school is it's only going to give you what they want you to know. Think about this, guys. We're going to go to school. We're going to learn many things, but what you're going to learn mostly is how to be a worker. Your day is broken up into breaks, okay, where you go to work and then you get a break. You go to work, you get a break. You go to work, you get a break. This is synonymous with when you really go to work. When you really go to work, you get that 30-minute break, that 15-minute break, just like you got going from class to class, right, in a regular classroom. So it makes you presuppose or used to getting a break every few minutes. These are not things that you would think as an entrepreneur, right? You wouldn't think clock in or be at school every day on time. And if I'm not at class on time, I get punished. I get, I have to have a pass to go out in the hallway, to go use the bathroom, all these things, detention, having to stay after when you don't do something right, right? So again, it really leads you right into the workforce or even prison. Testing, testing. Let me know if y'all guys can hear me before I keep going. Let me know if you can hear me, guys. Testing, testing. Okay, cool, cool, cool. Sounds fine. Okay. All right, so it sends you right into, or gets you prepared for going to work or going straight into prison. You see, because you're built on this system now to where you're going to school, got to be there on time. If you're not there on time, you can get punished and things like that. And then, of course, detention prepares you for it. And when you're in detention, they can lengthen your detention, even if you're not doing something that got you in detention, right? And the detention is going to be around 30 to 45 minutes. And also it becomes something that can be bragged about, right? When you go to school and you see people that go to the detention, often more times than not, they brag about going to detention, right? The people who are going to detention often are considered the cool kids, right? And you're a square if you've never been to detention. So guys, if you really go back and look at how even as children in school, all around us was placed the constructs for this world. So it wouldn't be difficult for us to go. We say that the school don't prepare you for life, but it does. It prepares you for the life of the matrix. You see what I'm saying? Why do they never teach you about investing and the stock market in school? Because they know that if you have these tools, you will not spend your life working for someone else. Potentially you won't be broke. You won't go through life not understanding money and that it's a tool, right? And how it works. You wouldn't fall into the traps that we fall into with instant gratification in terms of just buying things that we do not need. If we were really taught what money really was, and how to use money and how to use it to benefit you and your household, we would not be doing some of the things we're doing now. So we have to understand that a lot of the things that we do is because we're ignorant and because we're in the matrix and we're acting as if we're in the matrix, right? When in Rome, behave as Romans do. Am I making any sense so far? So let's just say you're taking, like I was talking about a while ago with breaking this computer down. Let's say I take a knife and I'm going to break down a leaf, right? And so I could take that leaf and I can separate the leaf from what we would call the stems, and I can separate them into different parts, right? But then I can continue to cut with that knife until I can get parts that are so fine that these parts are small as the blade themselves. And I cannot cut it any smaller because the blade itself is not smaller. Now it can be cut smaller, but I don't have the capability to break it down anymore, right? Now you could have someone with the mindset that says, I just want to take this leaf and rip it apart and separate it into two parts, leaf and then stem. Now you can have someone that says, I want to break this leaf all the way down into understanding how it absorbs water. And then you can have someone that wants to break this leaf all the way down to trying to understand why is it beneficial and nutritious to the animals that consume this leaf, right? Why? What is this leaf, right? So you can begin to break things all the way down to what they call an atoma. At, which means non, and tom, meaning cuttable. So it's not cuttable, which is where you get the word atom from. the word atom, it just means to come from the smallest basis of life, something that cannot be broken down any further, right? So we have different ideas for atoms. If when we were in school and they were showing us atoms, when it was for a solid, it was square, right? They had a bunch of squares like pixels on a TV screen that would represent the atoms for a solid. And then for water, the atoms were round because, of course, water is unstable, right? It rolls around, it moves around. I think it was like the same way for air too. I'm not sure, but I remember fire was like a bunch of triangles, right? A bunch of triangles was what atoms for fire, triangles. Now, obviously, we know that, or we can assume that if you were to see these atoms of solids, liquid, gas, uh, and of course fire, they probably would not look like circles, squares, and triangles. But this is the basis of how we understand them. And even the word atom is a created word, right? So again, the matrix is all broken down into, again, it didn't start with a word. It didn't start but with a word. It needed a word. Without a word for gravity, we would consider it ambiguous. We would consider it as something that we didn't understand simply because we don't have a word for it. Giving a person a word, it does not bring you within the know, but what it does is makes you comfortable. You see what I'm saying? I talked about this one day. Right, you're absolutely right, Anaquest. Adam, the name Adam comes from atom. Absolutely. Even in Hebrew, Adama traces back to the word dirt, right, or dust, which means really fine particles that make up the whole totality of what it is, man. What you got is a bunch of literature that was taken from different places over time and merged them together to make one book, and they didn't even care enough to fix it to where it did not clash with each other or have any discrepancy. So it's full of those as well, but it is full of a lot of absolutely begging for change. Atum. That is absolutely right. So again, but breaking it down um, is going to, I guess, yield you more understanding, right? The more you take time to dig into something, the more you can learn about it. The more you study something, the more you can learn about it. One of the scriptures in the Bible that most of us on this channel, of course, no longer subscribe to, it says, study to show yourself self-approved. So it's not true because it's in the Bible, but it's true even though it's in the Bible, right? Study to show yourself approved. I always take time to learn. Be willing to do that because that's how you're going to have your evolution and your mental freedom. Is by simply getting as far from your ignorance as possible, because it's in your ignorance that you are, tricked into being a part of the matrix, so to speak. Learning etymology is key. I think you said V. I think you probably mean key or whatever, but absolutely. Yeah, absolutely, Craig. Learning etymology is very important. I actually love etymology. It's something that really interests me. I love to see the origin of anything, really, just to see how it started. Because if you could see how something starts, you can kind of, like, if you could see the root, understand the root, you can kind of know what the fruit's going to yield, right? Or if you can see the seed, you know exactly what kind of fruit it's going to yield, what started it. And that's my whole thing. It's getting to the beginning of it. Shakespeare actually is attributed for writing a lot of the Bible, actually. So, and then it was attributed, of course, to other writers. Papa, the master student said people don't want to learn anything outside of the matrix. Well, that's true, but that's because the matrix has told them that, right? The matrix has taught people that if it's not from some school, then it can't be right. It must be pseudoscience. It must be wrong if you didn't learn it in a classroom that's backed by us. If we didn't put our stamp on it, then it must be bad information if you didn't get it from a scholar, right? Someone who is licensed, right? And because if you're in a system that's controlled, then of course, if you're going to have something, you must be licensed by the people who control that system, or otherwise you're not qualified, right? That makes a lot of sense. You can be qualified and be one of the best doctors on a different land that has a different name. But if you move to a different land that has a different name, then all of everything that you learn can be taken from you because you're in a different place. Now, did you lose your knowledge and your ability to be a doctor? No, you did not. But simply because you moved somewhere where someone doesn't respect your credentials, now they can be stripped from you, and you cannot work within your field inside of that area, right? This goes along with being a part of the matrix. Some of the things that you learn to do, you can do, but you couldn't do them without the matrix backing you, without a license to do it, right? So the very matrix you live in is what gave you permission to do the job that you're doing, right? Especially if it's like a practicing law or medicine, because you know you have a license to have to be able to do those things. And of course, you're absolutely right. So there are hidden wisdoms, hidden wisdom in the meanings of the Bible once you read it properly. Understanding it as literal is one of the worst things you can do. Absolutely, Papa the Master. I understand. So let's see here, Sunolo. Let's see. I'm gonna read what you said because that's gonna bring me right back into my next topic. Said the matrix is everywhere. It's all around us here, even in this room. You can see it out of your window or on your television. Absolutely. I've said before in some of the other discussions that Morpheus told Neo, it is all around you. You can see it, taste it, touch it, and smell it. You know it's there, right? The matrix is all around you. And so let's just look at this, okay? Look at people who call themselves Masons, right? So we know people like Masons. We know people like police officers, people like judges, lawyers, even at hospitals. They have what they have with their clients or with their groups, confidentiality agreements, right? So if you're a Mason, you can learn all this esoteric knowledge and symbolism, but you're not to go out talking about it. So you know when to play ignorant. You know when you're going to learn this information that not many people are getting, and you're Neo, and then you know when to go into the world and play Thomas, right? Neo's Mr. Anderson. You know when to be Mr. Anderson, the actual Neo who was in the Matrix and was dumb, right? Because whenever you unplug from your Masonic teachings, right, and you go into the regular world with regular civilians, you're not going to walk out there as a Mason, right? Your identity is actually a secret, right? So a Mason would know firsthand what it means to play dumb, right? And a lot of police officers do it when they have to hold information about a case, right? Lawyers do it when they're protecting their defendant or whatever, or the person that they're representing. And of course, hospitals do it. Even now, recently with my doctor's appointments, I'm having to write down certain people who can call and get information about me and my health, right? Because they want to make sure that you understand that they're not going to give this information, of course, to other people or whatever. So we all know when we have to limit other people from the information that we personally have. I think that ego, someone was talking about ego earlier, and we know we apply ego to physical things like, money and clothing and material things. But ego is also an attention. Like we're so quick to try to say out loud what we're learning and what we want to do with our life that we don't understand that sometimes there's power in being secretive. There's power in keeping your mouth closed, to be frank. Let's look at the Black Panthers, right? The Black Panthers were people who represented something positive, protecting the people in the community from people, even in law, who were harassing those people, right? But they were demonized and destroyed, right? We don't have Black Panthers anymore. But look at the Ku Klux Klan, right? They have never been known as a good unit. All they did was terrorize, but they covered their faces, and they still exist today. Sometimes revealing your face and revealing your hand is the worst thing you can do. You see what I'm saying? And you have to consider, why must I say out loud all of my moves? Why must I make all of my moves known to everyone around me? Is it ego? Do I have a need for attention? Do I have a need to be envied? Right? Why do I have to state out loud what every one of my next moves are? Because you have to ask yourself, why do you do things, right? Why do you do things? You don't always have to be the smartest person in the room. Sometimes you can just listen. Man, if I'm not in a place where I'm comfortable, I actually do not talk. I just be quiet and just take it all in. I listen to the people around me because I don't know where I am. Especially with some of the things that we're learning, guys. When we walk out into the matrix, we can't have these regular conversations. Man, most of the places I go, I know I can't have a conversation with those robots, and that's not an insult. I like to say we're all robots. Some of us less programmed than others. But I'm talking about when I am out in freaking public, I already know I can't talk to those people about the stuff that goes through my mind, the type of level or things that I think about. I can't have a discussion with them because I'll be ridiculed from it. I'm in the matrix. And in the matrix, conversation that's not popular gets ridiculed, right? And man, I promise you, bro, I can walk up to somebody right now and start talking to them about the 48 laws of Ma'at or the 48 laws of power, right? I can start talking to them about, things in our history that if we were to learn them, they could benefit us, right? I can talk about the things that we do today that hurt us. And I guarantee you, most people in this matrix won't have a single clue what I'm talking about. But if I was to ask them that they hear the Pusha T and Drake battle, they'll tell you yes. And they'll probably be able to quote it all back to you and tell you who won it and, what was the line that did it all and everything. This is what I mean. The Matrix. The Matrix, I have you focused on something that's completely irrelevant. It won't even be important 2 weeks later, but you're focused on it. Instead of focusing on things that can help you in your actual real life. The real life, your personal life. You see what I'm saying? But we'd rather be focused on things that are really completely irrelevant. Why do we care if Drake and Pusha T got a beef with each other? They're musicians and you don't know them. They don't do nothing for you. Yet still, we still care. There are people who chase these people all over the place just to snap pictures. I can see it, man. We all got Facebook and things like that. We all have YouTube. We can scroll our timeline and see the sheer attention that these people just demand just by being celebrities. And the thing that always bothered me is, why do people care so much? Brick says, I'm not antisocial. I just can't connect to robots. You dig? I dig. Sosa said, I speak my truth regardless. Not everybody's going to like you. So what's to lose? And I understand that as well. Hey, listen, whenever when my video surfaced or whatever, it went viral and everybody knew who I was. I go by my actual name. I'm saying that to say this. Listen, you have a lot of people who do still stand in a position to where they can plug in and out of the matrix in terms of they have a different profile pic that they use whenever they posting truth, right, and what we call right knowledge, information that can help us move forward. And they may use an alias for that. They may have a different face on the front. Even when you go to their pages, they have pictures that is not of their actual avatar. It's not of their actual flesh suit, right? It's of something else. And they're able to walk out in society and nobody even knows what they're about. So this is what I mean. And I know it's SO30, but I'm imagining it's Sosa. I don't know why I read it as Sosa or whatever. But what I mean by that is like I can't technically do that, right? Unless someone is just unaware with who I am. People are going to see me and say, that's Kevin Wesley, the guy who talks about, you see. And so I don't have the ability to unplug from the matrix and walk around as a regular person in the matrix. You understand what I'm saying? Danny Boy said, you're right. Nobody want to talk about anything that's real, nor do they understand what's real or even how to talk about what's real. Listen, man, let me see. If Josh, are you there?
Yes, sir.
All right, I know you don't like to talk much, but the other day we were talking about all the TV shows where they run up to random people and ask them questions like, who's the 23rd president? What's the capital of Omaha or Iowa, right?
Yeah, they don't like Jimmy Fallon and stuff.
Right. And then like when the people can't answer the questions, they always appear dumb, right? Because they can't tell you what the capital of what state is and what all this kind of stuff, right?
Right.
And so me and Josh was having this conversation. And we were talking about what would honestly be the point of some random person that doesn't live anywhere near Iowa to know the capital of Iowa and be made fun of because they don't know that. What would be the purpose of a person who lives in the era of 2018 to know who the 23rd president was, and even to be made to feel dumb because they don't know it? There is information that we actually do need right now, but it's not that information. But see, this is information that we learned in school. So if you don't remember what you learned in school, then you are by default dumb. You see, this is how they get you. If you make good grades in school, you're smart. If you make bad grades or poor grades in school, then you're dumb. And that's how they want you to feel. But good grades are only the ability to follow rules. And memory. Please understand, guys, making an A on a test does not make you smart. That means having good memory. You only answer the questions with the answers that they gave you. So if the answers were wrong, you would still be wrong, but get a correct answer for it. This presents a problem that it doesn't really speak to intellect. If a person says this is the answer, Columbus found America, and there were people living here already, but he discovered it. A mind who would be deemed intelligent would answer that question with Columbus found America. He discovered it, even though people were here. That mind would be considered smart because that would be the correct answer based on the matrix, right? But if a person says Columbus did not find America, he did not discover it because there were people living here, that in school, that person would get a wrong on that answer, right? They'd get an X. Therefore, they would be considered what? Dumb, or not as smart as the person who passed with flying colors or circled in all the right boxes, right? So please understand that having a high grade in school is just their way of saying, how easily can this person be controlled? You understand what I'm saying? How easily can this person pick up what we want them to do? And I know for a lot of people who probably made good grades in school, this probably sounds offensive to you, but please understand your ability to take orders was extremely high if you did make really good grades in school. It is just memory. If you think about this, if you can take work home and learn it at home, then what would be the point of school, right? So if you need to be in a classroom to learn, then what's the point of homework? This is only to see how well you take orders, how well you can obey. If I give you homework and you go home and do that homework, it shows me that you can take orders. If I give you homework and you go home and don't do that homework, it shows me that you're not very good at taking orders. So now we have to figure out a way to help you take orders. I'm going to reach out to your mom, either put you in detention, whatever I can do to get you to the point to where you learn to take orders. Because when you go out into our matrix, into our job system, we need you to be a very good worker. You understand? We need you to be a very good inmate if you're going to do that. We need you to be a person who is very good at taking orders. So your whole life is going to be based around taking orders. You understand? Your whole knowledge system, not belief system, your system of what you call education and knowledge is controlled. Certain information doesn't make it into the school system for you to learn. Why is that? Why do they give you a curriculum that only suits them? You are a part of the matrix, and if you are a part of the matrix and you learn the matrix, you're going to contribute to the matrix, right? Tim said they put too much truth in the first Matrix. They absolutely did. It's really a brilliant movie, man. I was talking to Josh about it the other day, and I was just talking about how even when they were eating, and the dude was saying that he was eating a steak inside of the Matrix, and he was like, I know I'm not really eating this steak, but it really tastes like steak. And he was just kind of like raving on how good it was, like, wow, man. I know it's not steak, but I can definitely taste it, because what he was saying there is that the Matrix has the ability to mess with your sensory systems. It has the ability to make you actually believe that something is real, even when it isn't. Think about it, guys. We live in a world where people spend overloads of money on a rock because it's called a diamond. I'm talking about it would take less money to feed people around them, but they'll spend money on a diamond and brag about the cost of it. You understand what I'm saying? So it's not even something that's real. And here's the thing. They're paying for it with something that's not real. They're paying for it with something that was given value by a person that was in power over them. The face on the very bill that they're spending has a person on it that was in power over them. So when I tell you that we're a part of the matrix and we value things that are not actually valuable, just as a person would inside of the actual matrix, on the actual movie The Matrix, eating this steak as if it's real steak, and it's not steak at all. It's only in his mindset. His body is somewhere in a chair on a ship right now, right? Because he's plugged into the matrix and he realizes that, but he still can't wrap his mind around how real it feels. Just like sometimes when you dream, you know you're home, or you're clearly home in your bed asleep. But in this dream, it is 100% real to you. You're there, not just your consciousness, but You can see your hands and you can see the people that you care about in this dream, right? The fear is real if it's a nightmare, right? The desire is real if it's one of those kind of dreams, where you can really feel the actual sensation on your skin from just a dream. It's literally only happening in your mind, and you'll wake up feeling as if you literally experienced it, right?
You remember what he said after you ate the steak? After you took a bite?
I don't.
Ignorance is bliss.
Ignorance is a bliss. Absolutely. Yeah, that's true. Dang. Rufus said, Kevin, what makes a person intelligent? I believe, Rufus, what makes a person intelligent is their ability to think on their own, not take what someone else says and just regurgitate it or accept what someone says as the final answer. That child that's in school that argues with that teacher, that is displaying intelligence because they're saying, wait a second, this is how it works to in my head. Even if they don't have the right answer, they're honest enough to say where they are. Whereas most people would just say, I get it, that's the answer. You understand what I'm saying? So a person who is considered intelligent to me now, I would say a person who can rationalize their own thoughts and administer their own thoughts and dissect their own thoughts and not have to have someone else give them to them. And that's what we came from. We came from someone giving us how to think, right? We want to be good people, right? Someone told us that. If that wasn't told to us, how would we carry ourselves? We have people all the time that be like, well, since you don't believe in religion, what y'all just going to start killing and raping people? And the first question that comes to your mind, is that what you would be doing if nobody ever told you about Jesus? Would you be out here killing them? Because why did you assume I would do that? It just sounds really crazy to me that you only don't rape people because you think a God doesn't want you to. That's pretty pitiful. So I just think that people who are intelligent would let's just say you remove your whole construct of thinking, and you have never saw a person be murdered. You've never heard of violence in any way, shape, or form, right? You've never heard of any of these things. Let's just say you're walking down an alley and you see a man taking a woman and he's doing what appears to be raping her. Now, you've never seen this happen before, and you've never heard the word rape. All you see is a woman screaming for help, right? She's screaming. You can see it in her face that she doesn't want this person touching her, but this person is forcefully holding her down, right? Would you know that was wrong? Even if no one had told you before that rape was a thing, would you be intelligent enough to know that someone holding someone down and taking from them something that they don't want to give them, would your mind be strong enough to realize that this is wrong? This is in fact wrong, right? To form your own thoughts, not to have someone to say that is wrong, right? An intelligent mind should be able to decide for themselves what's the best for themselves, and it should be a healthy choice, something that would preserve their life and the people around them lives. It should be a simple thought that you don't do to people what you don't want them doing to you. I mean, you see what I'm saying? It shouldn't take someone sitting you down in the classroom to tell you don't treat people like you don't want to be treated, And an intelligent mind would know if something's done to them that hurts them, that they don't want to go around doing that to somebody else.
That's when they start getting into the argument about morality and where that came from.
Absolutely. Again, which is a construct.
That argument is like, you don't want to get into that argument. It's so annoying.
Absolutely. To assume you can't have reality without their personal one God that they were taught to believe in, even though that personal one God is a tyrant and gives you permission to kill each other and sometimes even demands it. That conversation is always funny to me. But again, you can tell that they're thinking on a construct because they refuse to admit that their God is in fact a tyrant. And this is what I mean by being limited by the construct you're in. You don't have the power when you're in somebody else's construct. You have to act the way they act, the way they want you to act. If you go to a job and they say, we wear this color uniform every day, making it illegal to wear your regular clothes, now if you walk in your regular clothes, they either A, going to send you home and make you change, which is going to dock your pay, whatever. I just know from where I used to work, if you was out of uniform, meaning you didn't have the right color, socks on, pants on, shirt on, all this stuff. they sent your butt home, and you could be subject to being terminated if you kept doing that stuff. So even wearing the wrong color shirt can get you fired. Fired. Like, this is not about performance. This is about the wrong color shirt. Now, why would wearing a wrong color shirt get me fired? Well, a person in power who's running this company knows this. If I allow you to wear the wrong color shirt, because of how the matrix works, people like to repeat or copy other people, right? Someone else is going to get the idea now to wear a different color shirt because you did. When they wouldn't have had that idea unless you did it, because they're robots. And now because these robots have saw you wear this shirt, I'm going to have to fuss at them too. And that's what they tell you. If I let you do it, I'm going to have to answer to everybody because they're robots. If they see you do it, they're going to want to do it because they're simply copycats, right? Picking up what they see around them, right? And so is it a tyrant move to tell you that you'll be terminated if you wear the wrong shirt? You'll lose your livelihood over a color? No, because it's their company and they can do what they want, right? And they're doing that for a reason, right? But why? See, if you understand how people respond when everybody around looks like them, it's not as different as people whenever they get to, I guess, express their own individuality. Because, see, when you express your own individuality, it leaves so much room to be judged. If you're not wearing the proper things, right? Let's just say you walk into work and you got some old cheap steel-toe boots on, right? You might get clowned for that, right? If they're not the name brand steel-toe boots or whatever, or the right name brand shirt, anything. Because in our matrix, we look at stuff like that and we place your value according to that. If you dress really nice, you must be somebody else, right? Anything like that. You must be somebody important. If you don't dress really nice, you must not be someone important. If you're standing on the street asking me for money, you must not be important. And if you're behind a camera on TV, you must be very important. This is the matrix. So I don't care about the people that I walk by on the street who have a real need. But man, if I saw that celebrity that is on TV, I would run up and hug him and stare at him in his eyes when they talk, right? And ask for their autograph and ask for a picture with them. You see, because that's what the matrix tells us is what's important is what we see on that tube, right? On that screen. Rufus said, "Is smart and intelligent the same thing?" I think that smart would be the based on how quickly you pick up information versus of course intelligent is someone who can come up with their own thinking, right? Let's say if I said smart, there's no such thing as smart. There's learned and unlearned, right? But smart, if it exists by way of how fast you can learn. Whereas intelligence is something that it's not learned, right? You knew this was right or wrong, and no one had to teach you that, right? That's what just think about intelligence, right? Intel, it comes from within, not without, right? So if it's intel, if it's something that's inside of you telling you something, we're going to call that intelligence, right? Because this information is coming from within, not from someone outside of you, right? So that's what intelligence is. Now listen, man, I know people who can speak very proper, but cannot read and write that well because their brain is intelligent. Okay, they understand how to speak, they understand how to properly speak, but when it comes to actually writing and spelling the words, they struggle because that is something that's learned. You understand? So intelligence is the ability to understand. Whereas in learn is the ability like let's just say, for instance, if you take a word that you use every single day and you try to put that word into a spell, right? You try to write that word down. If it's not a word that you're used to seeing, it is very likely that you spell that word incorrectly. And that has nothing to do with your intelligence. This is your ability to remember what you were taught because you didn't create that word. That word may have a silent G in it, right? Or a silent K in it, anything like that. But you would not know that unless you had already saw that word and someone told you how to say it. And now you're saying it how you were taught to say it, meaning you're a robot. You see what I'm saying? So that's learned. That's not smart, right? I mean, or that's not intelligence because these words were already created, and that's what I mean. Being intelligent, however, is being able to take those words that we were given and rationalize them in our head to form our own thought. That's what intelligence is. Now, speaking of food, though, speaking of food, when the guy said that he could taste the steak, and Josh, had, of course, had said the guy said ignorance is a bliss, absolutely. But the other guy who was willing to sell himself back into the matrix, the guy who is the one who gave the coordinates on where Neo and all them were, because he wanted to plug back into the matrix and be someone important, right? The ego. He wanted to satisfy his ego. He said, "Make me somebody important. Give me a really good life." That's what he wanted. So he was gonna sell out all his friends, like forget all of y'all. I'm tired of this. I can't eat another bite of that food. Remember that? Because the food to him tasted bad in the real world, right? Outside of the matrix. And that's kind of how it is for us now. When we learn that some of the things that's in the foods are extremely harmful for us, many of us are even going vegetarian and even to veganism, raw food diets and things like that, simply because we're understanding that we don't actually need to consume flesh to survive, right? We don't actually need to eat meat to live, right? So many of us are changing our diet. And for many of us, if we be honest, the food wasn't as tasty when we were making this transition. The food that we were already brought up eating tasted really good, right? Even though it was bad for us, right? Okay. Yeah, Cypher, it was. Yep. It was Cypher. Cypher was the person who ate the steak, and Cypher was the person who said he cannot handle any more of that nasty food that they were eating outside of the Matrix. But if you notice, when they asked him about the food, he said that it has everything in it that you need. All the nutrients that your body would need is in this food, but it was not tasty, right? Now, I'm not saying that vegan food is not tasty, right? What I'm saying is the desire for bad food has been put in front of us for so long that because it's so high on our brain, we're going to see that as tasty. You can be sitting there and, like when you're sitting there watching TV, the commercials that you see are going to be for Burger King, Taco Bell, triple cheese burrito, bacon, double bacon, a new burger from McDonald's that has this spices from this place, this from this place, and it's all this different stuff from different parts of the world, brought all under one roof that is McDonald's, and put between two sesame seed buns for your enjoyment, right? And people were like, "Oh, I got to go down there and try that." Because that's what they advertise all the time to us. It's not going to make you say, "Man, I want to go out and be a vegan," after watching TV. You're going to want what the TV shows you, right? And so to go for healthier choices, it's not going to be as tasteful as it would be to go for not healthy choices. You're going for healthier choices. The food, number one, is probably going to be more expensive. It's not going to be as convenient, right? You're going to have to go out of your way. I hear you begging for change. You're going to have to go out of your way to get this healthy food, right? And it's probably going to be inconvenient in terms of time, and packing the food, making sure you take it with you every day for work, all of that. If you guys are vegan, you probably noticed that the stuff you used to get at like Walmart and stuff like that, when you go back now, it's gone. It's a lot of people are becoming more health conscious. And what I used to be able to go to the store and what seemed to be Walmart or whatever, Whole Foods or wherever I was getting it from, they may have seemed to have an abundance where now it's like they can't keep stuff. And it's because a lot of people are beginning to make healthier choices when it comes to the food that they put inside their body. But I just thought that was really crazy how my man said that he didn't like the food, and I love how they put every little detail in this movie so you can relate to it and see exactly what we're going up against. Because that same thing happens to us, man. We first started going vegan. We know good and well that stuff did not taste like you know regular food, but it took a lot of resilience to stay on that diet and say, man, I'm gonna do it. Period. Because it's not about what the food tastes like. It's about my health, right? I want to eat to survive, not just eat to get the next taste of a meal. right? Because this is what they're talking about, the difference in between yin and yang, um, or yin and yang, however you want to pronounce it. I don't care or whatever, but your yin realm or your thought realm, spiritual realm, represents the thought realm, right? The things that you cannot see, yin. And then your yang realm or yang realm represents the earth realm or the physical realm, right? The things that you can see and touch, right? And so, like, the whole point is to have balance. And when you're so drawn heavily to your yang realm or yang realm, which is your self, your ego, you're going to outweigh your spiritual realm. So the whole goal is to understand that you have a higher self as well. And so the whole goal is to try to stay away from ego. Let Heru defeat Set, right? To become enlightened. To yourself, your ego to die. And even, of course, I use this same type of concept in the Bible where it tells you that your flesh has to die daily, which is your ego. Your ego be placed to the side so you can make decisions with your higher self, and your higher self makes decisions that's better for the world, not just you. You only make decisions for you and your lower self and how you see life. A person that thinks with their higher self thinks, how can I make the world better for everyone else, right? And like, for instance, like what we're doing now, we're talking about making the world a better place by becoming the change that we want to see, right? These are higher thoughts, right? So these are not egotistical thoughts. These are saying that we want to make the world better for the people in this world, not just ourselves. You see, Key said, I can't believe I grew up eating pig. Man, me too, man. My grandmother used to cook that stuff, man. Chitlins, pig tongue, pig ears, pig tail. And my grandmother made all that stuff. Like, all that stuff. Oh, and I used to eat it too. I love that stuff. Liver mush, almost every morning. Like, man, I'm telling you. But I have not eaten pork for many years, even as a Christian, because I studied, I guess, more of a Jewish way. So I followed the food law. So I had not eaten pork in many years, but I definitely grew up on pork. Maurice, absolutely. He said, for me, it's for the animals as well, not just myself. I sit there, man. I told myself, I said, Maurice, I said to myself, I don't want my life to require another being's life if it doesn't have to. Like, I don't want my life to need another being to die just so I can live if I don't have to, right? And then understanding that we didn't have to eat animals to survive, I was just like, well, then why eat them then? I don't want to eat animals anymore. I don't want to kill an animal if I can help it. You're right. So it's like that's my way of thinking now, because I know that for so long we have, we're so desensitized to that, man. We don't care about animals because we've been taught that animals, frankly, don't matter, that they're here to serve us or whatever. So um, that's just how we thought. As Shondell said, the thing I'm starting to do more is put veggies and fruit into a blender and drink more. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Drink it. Break it down more. The seeds and everything, too, Shondell. Most of the energy and the nutrients in the seeds and the skin. And it says, yes, my compassion went to. And I don't know if now listen, guys. For those of you that is vegan or that are vegan, when you started going vegan, did you notice that you were becoming more compassionate about the world and the animals and things like that in it? Because most people who begin to go vegan, they say that you become more aware of the world and you become more, for lack of a better word, sensitive. Not sensitive in terms of you cry easy, but sensitive in terms of you can feel easier, right? Your senses are heightened. Miss J says yes. I feel like I did. Like if I'm in a food court or something like that, and I look around, and I see people just eating animals. It always kind of bothers me a little bit. Like they just eating these animals with no like. It's like I'm in a horror movie and I have to like leave that area. And to a lot of people, they be like, "Man, you can't watch people eat." I mean, I can, but I prefer not to. Not when they eating like animals and stuff. I don't know. And that's not to make anybody feel bad or whatever who do eat animals. That's not the purpose of this. It's just saying that I've been, I guess, so long without eating animals and have made this decision for myself that it bothers me to even see animals be eaten because I'm now on this path that I'm on. So definitely. But again, it's amazing how you can go for so long uh, with a diet that you don't think twice about until you learn. And then after you become more knowledgeable, things actually begin to look different to you. And like it's like you really walked out of one matrix into another. Your brain is totally different. You see things totally differently now. And it's all because of what you learn. And so just imagine if we grew up learning these things that we know now. We would have probably never been eating meat. At least in the way that we consume it now, where it's the majority of our diets. We'll sit down with 2 or 3 meats before we have 2 or 3 vegetables on our plate. You see what I'm saying? Let's just say you got burgers that'll have pig on it, cow on it, and chicken on it. You see what I'm saying? And I'm talking about different kinds of pig. It'll have sausage, bacon, ham, all this stuff goes onto one cheeseburger sometimes. Different animals at one time. And so like we are so used to consuming meats and not so used to consuming vegetables, guys. So like most people, if you do eat meat, most meat eaters can't tell you a time that they sit down and just ate vegetables without a meat on their plate at all, because if they don't have a meat, they feel like they haven't eaten or that it's not a meal. You understand what I'm saying? So now, that's not to say all, because a lot of meat eaters are now saying they're trying to convert to veganism, so they do eat, vegan food or vegetarian food a couple times a week or a couple meals. But the typical meat eater wouldn't be able to tell you the last time they sat down and had a meal with literally no meat, unless it was like cereal or something. Like, that's just simple facts. Like, I know I couldn't. Josh, if you dare tell me, bro, I know for me, when I was a meat eater, unless it was like cereal for breakfast or something like that, when I was dieting really heavy, I would just eat grits in the morning because it's a fast burning carb. But that's because I was on a mission. But my typical meals, they were going to contain a meat. Like, I never sat down and just had a vegetable meal. Like, did you ever, as a meat eater, could you just say, man, that was not a way, I just sat down and just had corn and beans, and that was good?
Nah, not at all.
Not at all.
The closest thing you probably get to is maybe like a salad with some little bit of meat, or like a stir fry, like where it's still like a lot of vegetables and grains or whatever, but you're still gonna have meat in it.
Right.
So
Absolutely. And yeah, and then somebody said even in cereal it has milk. If you're not putting like any vegetable based milk in it, it's probably going to be cow milk, which of course is just as bad as eating meat, or probably worse. We've learned now that after infancy, we don't even need milk, period. And what other animal do you know of that goes around drinking milk after infancy? None of them. They all drink water after that. All their diets now become completely water when it comes to drinking, but not mankind. Mankind has to either be eating goat milk or cow's milk or whatever. Well, I think we need to go ahead and start doing plant-based milks or whatever, especially if you're going to be still eating cereal and things like that. Milk is absolutely not good for you. That's another thing that they surround you with in school, so I believe so your taste for milk can be really, really high. You keep milk in your system every day, it probably won't cause as many stomach aches and things like that to where you notice how bad milk is. Like, I know for me, eating like fried foods and meats and stuff all the time, I didn't realize how bad they were for my body until I went for a long time without eating those things and ended up accidentally eating something that had it was some kind of like noodles, and they end up having chicken in it, chicken stock, something from chicken in it. Man, when I tell you that stuff's turned my stomach so bad, man, I went back and looked at it and realized I missed that part. This was months ago. Man, I was so mad. I ate some noodles that had some freaking chicken stock in it, and I felt like I've been doing good and going for so long without having any animal product touch my lips. And maybe it has at a restaurant or whatever. Somebody might touch something, but not to my knowing. You know what I mean? So having to read that and see that really bothered me that I did consume animal products, but I paid for it. My stomach hurt like crazy, you know. So yeah, Tim Thomas says milk equals mucus. Absolutely. Well, what have you seen a grown cow chasing down another cow for milk? Absolutely. Thank you very much, Felix Laramie. Actions speak louder than words. Thank you to all those who have donated. For those who haven't, please go ahead and begin to donate to us, guys. We definitely do need your financial help so we can keep this going. I obviously need help by way of finances for medical things like that. So as much as you guys can give, if it won't hurt you, guys, please consider donating. Um, especially if the information is useful to you. Shonda said, I've heard that veganism can help with depression at all. I mean, and maybe it's not veganism as much as it is a lack of meat. You know, when you think about it, Shonda, a lot of these animals that's being slaughtered in the way that they're being slaughtered, they have high stress levels from seeing all this fear or experiencing all this fear, adrenaline and all. So if you're consuming this meat, it could have a negative response on your body and actually your psyche as well. So eliminating these animals out of your diet, period, I believe will have a great effect on you, period, just because it's not something that you need anyway. And when you look around and you look at the animals that are vegetarian or I hate to even call them animal vegan, but we know animals that don't consume meat, they're big and strong animals. You know what I'm saying? A lot of them stronger than animals who do consume meat. I mean, you know, you take your gorillas, your elephants, you know, giraffes, zebras, horses. These animals do not consume meat, and they're some of your strongest, largest animals on the face of this globe. Thank you very much, Tim, and thank you very much, Anthony. I understand, brother. Every little bit helps, man. Listen, if Anthony, if I had every single person on this feed to give what you just gave, it would outgive what's already been given. You understand? I have 140 something thousand followers just on followers on my like page, and if they all gave $1, I wouldn't even be here asking for money right now. So believe me, man, don't feel bad if you can only give $1, man. If everybody only gave $1, nobody would be out of anything, and all the needs would be taken care of anyway. Again, this is another part of the matrix. Is I feel fear. I'm going to feel fear. This person hasn't done enough, or I care what he's going to do with the money, or I ain't helping that dude. All this stuff is ego. Higher self thinks, how can I help the world around me? If what I'm doing is helping the world around you, why not invest into what I'm doing? You see what I'm saying? So the whole point is that we should be caring about what makes the world better and doing the things that can make it better. You see what I'm saying? Like, and the next thing we're dealing with the matrix is groups. We talked about titles, how someone getting a title can make you respect them more, right? But let's talk about groups. Groups make people feel safe, right? It makes people feel a sense of camaraderie, fellowship, and they respond better in a group. And I don't think that we should have to be that way. I think that is a sign of the brain immature, the immaturity of the brain, that you need to connect yourself to a group or a unit of some sort to feel safe, because we've been taught our whole life to put ourselves into groups. Inner says groups to me are cults. Let's just think about this in life, guys. As a child, even in preschool, when y'all did things in school, they put y'all on teams. Y'all pick groups of people, from kickball to basketball to football to every single football team now is separated into a group. And when you're into that group, you feel a part of that group, and you're supposed to not like other groups and feel separate from other groups, right? This is all based in separation, and it isn't wise when dealing with your mind, right? I call this be the evolution simply because I want people to keep this thought in mind that we can be the change that we want to see. We can become that change. Instead of saying that I wish the world was a better place, we can actually be that change, right? We can be the reason that the world's a better place instead of just being a witness to it or being a bystander to it. But I would never say we are the Born Winner Squad, right? Or we are the Be the Evolution Squad, because I want you to understand that you are you, right? When we come together as one, right? So you're always you. You understand? Like you don't have to be do everything the way Kevin does it to be in Kevin's group. You see what I'm saying? Because the problem is once you have a group, then now you have a guideline to that group and a rule to that group. Because if you do certain things, you now can be outcasted from that group. You understand what I'm saying? So groups may not be the best way to go. Why must we always adhere to a group and to some sort of control? Why?
More specifically, a cult.
Right, but I mean any group though, for that matter. Like let's just say, for instance, right now, Josh, if we were to start calling ourselves a group, right? Any name for that matter. Say we started calling ourselves the Free Thinkers or something. I don't know. All right, so we start calling ourselves Free Thinkers, and we start marketing it. We all start buying shirts and posting about our group being called Free Thinkers, right? And let's just say that I Am Set is in our Free Thinkers group. Now all of a sudden we see him over in someone else's group. We may feel like, what you doing over there? Ain't you part of free thinkers? As if there's some kind of rule now that he can't be in another group. You see what I'm saying? And this is what I'm saying. Like, if we don't have a group, then it would be perfectly okay for I Am Set to be with those other people or whatever. But the moment we start saying, okay, we are going to call ourselves a name. Now every person, Josh, if you and I created a group, right? Our group page, right? It's called the Kevin Wesley group page, right? Because it's called the Kevin Wesley group page and it now has a name, you focus on that page because you don't want people making me look bad, right? Or representing me or the page in a false way because it's called the Kevin Wesley group page. If it did not have my name on it and I wasn't someone that you cared about, right? You wouldn't take so much time to try to make sure that page was going a certain way, right? Because it wouldn't make me look bad because then my name would not be on it. However, how people act on my page has literally nothing to do with me. But it's very important how people see me. So whenever you see things that are crazy on my page, you have them removed immediately because we know how the matrix works, right?
Absolutely.
And that's exactly what I mean. Because it's called the Kevin Wesley group page, now every person on this page must carry themselves in a certain way, right? Because we don't want to make another person look bad. Well, and this is a matrix. You're on someone else's page, right? So therefore, you must carry yourself according to what the group guidelines are to stay on that page, or you will get kicked off that page, right?
Correct.
So in the real world, not in a matrix, in an app on a phone, in the real world, we shouldn't be subscribing ourselves to groups like that. That is my point. Thank you very much, Jane Bond. Actions speak louder than words. We should not need to. We should be able to be strong on our own and not have to subscribe ourselves to a group. I'm this, I'm that, I'm this, I'm that. We don't need to be. We can be something greater as together rather than considering ourselves many pieces, many small groups coming together. See what I mean? Let's just say
FYI, I plan on changing the name soon or doing something with the group different. Just FYI for you and others.
Okay, cool. Because a lot of people come into the group, and I've seen people say, well, who is this Kevin Wesley guy? And what they don't understand is it's not about Kevin Wesley, right? But if they had known this coming in, that the Kevin Wesley group is a bunch of people who are like Kevin Wesley, who has walked away from religion, and a bunch of other people who just want questions about religion, that's what the group is about. It's not literally about Kevin Wesley, but a person who doesn't know that would think that is because who is Kevin Wesley and why is he so special? There's nothing special about the vessel. It's the message. I said on my Facebook page earlier that if a person is focused on me, they're distracted. I'm not important. You personally are not important. The message is what we're trying to produce is important. And if we keep thinking that the actual vessel is important, that's where the problem lies. You understand? It's always the message. You never have to attack the person. And that's what a lot of Christian people do to me now is they hear what I say and they make me the problem. And they burn up all their time and energy trying to find something wrong with me or to go against me or ruin my personal name. When they don't understand that no matter what they do, they can't prove that God exists. It's over. It's literally over. Their way of converting people, at least through me or anybody who deals with me, is not going to be the typical way of conversion. Their typical way of converting people is to ask them to have faith, ask them to believe without sight, to believe without knowing, right? To have faith. And that doesn't work with us. That's not our construct. So we don't believe that you have to have faith or that faith is required in any way, even though the paper tells us that, even though the book tells us that, we're completely free from the construct that is the Bible. We don't have to think like it's telling us to think, because if we think how it tells us to think, we'll have to believe in Jesus, right? If they tell us to have faith and don't believe in what you see, walk by faith, not by sight, then we would by default have to believe in Jesus because it's asking us or telling us that we must use faith. And using faith, you cannot disprove any God, right? Right, why people, why? The size of a mustard seed. And like I always say, the size of a mustard seed, that can be measured. And that's where they made the mistake in that scripture. If you say faith, which is something that's ambiguous, it's a word, it's a concept, it's a way of thinking, and then you try to break that down to a measurement that's in the real world, like a mustard seed, you have a real big problem. You see what I'm saying? It's like saying if you have excitement the size of a mustard seed or fear the size of a mustard seed, these things don't take up space in a material world. You can't measure fear or excitement by way of pounds and inches, right? It doesn't work like that. Keith said, how do I treat Mormons? Listen, man, the same way as Jehovah's Witnesses, man, I challenge them all if I have the time. If I don't feel up to it or whatever, I won't bother. But I challenge them, man. They end up leaving my house running. Faith is take my word for it. Absolutely. Right now, we our way of life is that when we're hungry, we go to a supermarket, things like that, to buy what we need, even if it's vegetables, even if it's things that actually can grow naturally, because we've been taught to do so as well, right? So we are by design um, needy, right? Because we don't think to store up, we don't think to grow our food, we don't even care about when the winter's coming, we don't even know when to plant or how to plant or anything like that, um, because frankly we haven't been taught to. We have been taught to be consumers, right? We haven't been taught to be able to grow our own gardens and have our own, period, right? So now we all we do is buy, right? All we do is go out and purchase products, and we want to see who has the best products and things like that. Even if you're health conscious, you're going to try to find a place that has the healthiest products. Where you have very very few people now who are actually growing their own food. You know, um, speaking of growing your own food, uh, I was looking into growing um, my own food and stuff the other day, and I learned something that was pretty crazy. Like if you are going to grow a plant on the inside of the house versus the outside of the house, you want to put the plant on the inside of the house in a smaller pot, right? If it's a plant on the outside of the house, you can put it in a larger pot because, of course, the plant on the outside of the house would grow bigger. So the plant on the inside of the house, to keep it from growing as large, all you need to do is just reduce the size of the pot, right, or control the size of the pot that it's in. And so that works a lot like our brain. If you can control the size of the pot, right, you can control the size of the limbs or the actual tree. Now, I was just thinking about this, guy. So let me just deal with this. So give you guys an analogy on how I'm looking at it. So you have a tree, and you have a tree. A tree yields fruit, right? Because if I'm going to be growing trees for production, I'm not going to grow trees that doesn't offer any nutrients of some sort that benefits people in some way. Because how am I going to make money? Thank you very much, Battle Cat. Actions speak louder than words. So I'm going to grow probably fruit trees, right? And so I know that that tree must yield a fruit in order for me to make a profit, because I'm going to sell the fruit. The tree is going to work as the uh, the producer of my product, right? But the tree is what I must take care of so it can yield me a good product, right? So based on how well kept the tree is going to be based on what type of fruit that it yields, correct? So let's look at ourselves like trees. The inner quest said it, the body is the tree of life. So we call our extremities limbs, right? We call these limbs. Our hands and feet, we call them limbs, right? And what do limbs produce? Limbs produce fruit, right? Or nutrition or sustenance. When we go out every day into the world, our limbs are producing fruit or sustenance, right? Or nutrition for us in some sort of way. Some of the actions that you're doing with your body, okay, is what's yielding you your food, your return, right? Now, the roots are your brain. Just like a tree, its roots are under the ground. Well, our roots, so let's just say we're an upside down tree. So if you limit the size of the pot, you can limit the size of the actual tree or the production of the tree itself, right? Absolutely. Sosa. She said legs to hunt, arms to capture. Absolutely. So our brain, if our brains are the roots, then they must have limited our growth by controlling the size of the pot that's on our brain, right? Or the matrix that's around our brain, or the world in which how we see the world. So because this has been limited for us, our production is limited. Thank you very much, Lishan. Actions speak louder than words, brother. Okay, bro. So just think about that, guys. Now because your brain or your roots to your tree has now been limited, you're not producing what you normally would produce if you grew up outside of the matrix. Because you grew up inside of the matrix, you grew up in a pot, right? And now you didn't get as big, right? So you don't produce as much as you're supposed to produce. Now you may think this is normal because every person you knew grew up inside of the matrix. So every tree that you see is small, weak, frail, and doesn't produce a lot of fruit, right? So to you, that's the norm. So you're comfortable. And you don't believe me when I tell you that you are supposed to be bigger. You are supposed to produce more. You are supposed to be better, right? You are supposed to be helping more people. To you, that sounds crazy because your pot has been restricted, like Tim Thomas said, right? Your pot has been completely restricted, and you cannot see yourself as how you're supposed to be. But if you take a tree that has been grown in the house and for the same amount of time as a tree that's been grown outside, and you put them beside each other, then you will see the difference. And a tree that has grown outside would yield more fruit. It is a larger tree, right? Its roots has grown deeper and wider into the earth. And the quest says you should know them by the fruit they bear. Absolutely. Your fruit that you bear is based on the information that's in your mind. You see what I'm saying? Like the decisions that you make in life, the things that you do in life, it's only a reflection of who you are in here, right? The person that you are behind that mask, the person that you are inside of your avatar. Listen, man, the word karma doesn't mean things that come back around to you. Karma literally means you did it. It literally means like, okay, I brought this on myself. Okay. Like good karma is not when things don't happen to you that's bad. Good karma is when you are aware and able to admit that what is happening to you is a result of something that you've done. That's what good karma is. Bad karma is when you deny that what is happening is your cause, even when you know it is. That is bad karma because you're choosing not to learn your lesson, right? So karma is you brought it on yourself, so to speak. You created this thing. It happened because you did it, right? Not necessarily that there's some magic force that brings everything back around to you that you do. And I think the concept of karma is what throws people off. You know, karma, everybody don't go through karma, but that's not what karma means, right? Kevin, let's see, Rosie says the age of Pisces absolutely is the fish. Absolutely. Drawing too close to people, leaving the church, recognizing the lie, their wickedness in full effect. Absolutely. So yeah, guys, what you create, what you manifest, is going to be based out of your brain, right? As one thinketh, so is he, right? Who like you cannot behave differently than your knowledge. You understand what I'm saying? So you can't like you're not going to be able to go into a doctor's office and act like if I had you to go into a doctor's office right now and pretend to be a doctor and be good enough to convince people that you're a doctor, which means using all the terms, all the lingo, actually understanding how to do the job, could you do it? Even if offered all the money in the entire world right now, could you immediately download the information in your mind and what it takes to be a doctor, conduct a heart surgery, and all this type of stuff, and walk into a place right now, put a white jacket on, and be able to perform a doctor's duties? Would you be able to do that? Welcome in, Laquita. I believe the answer would be no, but I'm gonna wait and just see if you guys are with me. So again, guys, my question is right now, if offered all the money in the world, all the money in the entire world, right? Could you go inside of a doctor's office and literally do the duties of a doctor, like surgeries, everything that a doctor could do, even if offered all the money in the world? Because my whole point is that you cannot be anything different than what you know. Right. Brick, like as much as I like to say, yeah, man, I'm gonna have to be honest. No, I'd be wasting my time, but I dang sure try, right? See what I could do to come out with all the money in the world. I mean, but at the end of the day, what I'm saying is, even if everything could be offered to you to satisfy every need you have, you still couldn't become what it would take to get it. because it doesn't work like that, right? This is why you must become be better here, be more knowledgeable here, so you can manifest different things in reality. Your matrix can change. Your matrix will change by you changing. If you notice, like even in the Matrix, when they went into a program to fight, Neo spent all day downloading information, so he couldn't fight without learning to first, right? Neo literally had to go into a program where he learned how to do all these different fighting programs, fighting styles, before Morpheus even took him on, right? And did you see how confident Neo began to feel once he began to learn? Like when he turned that program on and Neo began to learn Kung Fu for the first time, I mean, his whole body was like, you could tell he was absorbing it. And then when it stopped, he said, give me more. They said, man, he loves it, right? Because he was beginning to sit there and just learn things that really he should have known and things that was going to help him in life. And to me, that's synonymous with when you first wake up from the bull crap. Like when you first wake up from the lies, you just have this thirst for knowledge that, for me, outweighed any other time in my life. Like I wanted to know like everything about the world, what they have been hiding from us, and more of our history, because I realized it was what I didn't know that made me hold on to religion so strongly. Because if I knew what I know now, I would have never been convinced to believe in religion, frankly, because I didn't even have the brain to be able to think that I have now. So since then, my brain has gotten a lot stronger, right? I can now hold a conversation with people that I used to, wouldn't be able to hold a conversation with, or my mind can now handle different thoughts about that my brain normally wouldn't even think to process. You see, because I have now taken the time to invest in myself and become more learned, become more knowledgeable. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, Bougie, I would say that if you're talking about me personally, what I suppose when I'm awake, I would say that um, this is a term that many people like to give themselves, even if it's just walking away from religion. We say that we're awake. So I would say that when it comes to this term awake, it's broad, man. It's many levels to it. So like a person who just walked away from religion and say I'm awake. A person who's in Christianity who knows some things in the Bible is off, they'll say I'm awake. I think that all of them can have their sides to where they can have some form of consciousness. And when I say consciousness, I mean awareness. So there's a form of being awake in all of those. A person who practices Christianity, but also realizes that the church is not a place you have to go. That going to church every Sunday is not something that a God would demand, and tithe is not something that a God would demand. I would say, yeah, you are awake to a portion. At least you're not convinced by the things that the world does ritualistically, right? At least you read your own literature and you understand. At least you are taking control over that. At least I would say that there's a portion of you that I would say is awake. But then there's another. Then you can get more awake or more aware, right? So I would say I'm awake, but I would say that there could be someone who have a whole lot more information than I do, and they may consider me still asleep, and they would be right if they do know a lot more than what I do know. And if that's the case, I would really love to learn what they uh, learn. Pretty much, Bougie. We don't know how much it is that we don't know yet. We could be just still scratching the surface, believing that we have came a long way, when in fact we could have not came very far at all, because there's so much information out there, and honestly, we don't know what we don't know. Yes, right. Man, pay homage, bruh. I couldn't have said it better myself. He said you got to keep your mind like a sword. Keep it sharp. That is absolutely right. And the Bible always says iron sharpens iron, which is symbolic for iron. Whenever you're sharpening it, you're rubbing it up against another hard, rough surface, which is making the iron that you're using sharper. So without that stress of being rubbed up against another abrasive material, you would not be sharp. So this is what we mean by challenge yourself, man. Challenge yourself so that you can become sharper, right? Challenge yourself. Because if you don't do that, then how are you going to be able to use the tools that you have? Even in the Bible, another symbology is that Paul gave David. Thank you very much, Randy. Yes, sir, I do. Well, I don't know for sure. I don't know if it's Ashra or not, but I do plan to go to Africa, sir. Ooh, I lost my frame of thought. Somebody help me if y'all can remember. Someone said Aaron said skepticism and doubt is the key to becoming aware. Absolutely. Oh yeah, I was saying challenge yourself. Another symbology in the Bible is when David was supposed to fight Goliath, and Paul gives David all of his armor and all of his weapons and says, hey, go fight this man. But of course, the weapons were too heavy for David. The sword was too heavy, and it had not been, the Bible uses the word tried, which means David has not practiced with this sword enough to be able to know that it can help him in battle. A person must train with their weapon in order to be able to use it, right? So David didn't feel comfortable with Paul's or Saul's sword. Also, the armor was too big and bulky on David. It would have only slowed him down, right? And so David went out there with what he knew best, his slingshot, and he was successful against a giant, right? Because he used the tools that he understood, right? So again, challenge yourself, right? If you can't challenge yourself, then you're in a bad place. And that means that you have taken yourself to a place to where you believe that you know something, and that's the worst place to be in. You always want to stay in a position of that I don't know. I can always learn. I can always grow. And if you're doing that, then that's a good place to be in. But if you get to the point to where you think you just know something and you can't be challenged on it, then you've put yourself in a bad spot. You should always remain in a position to be able to be challenged. Doesn't mean that you'll lose or be wrong, but just always be in a position to be able to be challenged, because if there's information that you didn't come across yet, at least that information can now be presented to you, and that may change everything. You see what I'm saying? It's kind of like if I am an officer or whatever, and I'm trying to find the suspect in a murder case. But if I miss one piece of evidence, it could make a whole different person look guilty than the actual person that's guilty. You see what I'm saying? So if I just go based on who was the last person that person spoke to or whatever. Okay, thank you very much, Tamasha, for the donation. Unless it's coming through here soon. And in that case, thank you in advance. Wow. Sorry about that, guys. Popular said, "I try to learn something new every day." Absolutely, me too. I said, a person who is not at least trying to learn something new every day is doomed. We should all be trying to grow our knowledge and grow our consciousness every day, somewhat, right? Thank you very much, Lishan. Okay, thank you very much, Tamasha. That's what you're talking about, bro. I got you. Seth said, yeah, right. People don't like to admit ignorance. Absolutely. Thank you very much, Vic Padilla. People don't like to admit ignorance, and I don't know if it's so much to the point to where it's embarrassing to admit that they were ignorant, or if it's just pride, or whatever. But I didn't experience that, and I guess that's why I don't really know what it is. Y'all let me know what y'all think. But I didn't have a problem saying I was wrong. I knew that it wasn't my fault that I was wrong. I knew that someone taught me to believe in this, so I knew I had been manipulated. So I didn't understand how I would be the bad guy in that, or why it would be something, excuse me, that I would have to deny. You know, that goes over my head. I don't care what you can call me dumb, gullible, whatever. But yeah, I was a Christian, man. I subscribed to it, believed in it with everything in me, prayed to it, worshipped it with the best of them. You feel me? But to me, it just wasn't. It wasn't. I didn't have a need to protect my ego by not admitting that I was wrong or that I could be wrong. I knew that there was a healthy knowledge that I could be wrong, but I knew it was about faith as well. I am said it derives from fear. Got you. A Brick said I was happy I was wrong. I wasn't happy I was wrong at first, Brick, but I am now. At first, I was saved and believing in Christianity and all because I felt like I truly loved Jesus and wanted to be like him and all this kind of stuff. It wasn't really a fear necessarily of hell. So my biggest fear was mainly losing Jesus and learning that he didn't exist for the simple fact that I wanted him to. Um, but for a lot of people, man, they just be like, I'm gonna go to church one day, I'm gonna get right one day. I don't know why they be mad, because they didn't even care anyway. For to me, they should be excited at least that there's just no hell. But most people are angry when you tell them that Jesus didn't exist, or even that there's no hell. But again, that's just the matrix. You telling them something different than what they have been programmed. So that's always going to be offensive. Again, we talked about last week. These agents show up whenever you say something that offends the paradigm that's given to us by the matrix. So as soon as you say something that disagrees with the construct that's been put around us, someone is going to say something, right? Someone is going to defend the matrix. I'm actually looking into that, Michelle. If you know any of those guys, send them some information on me. So let's see. I think I'm gonna read something here. So I have here the elite have managed to create a matrix within a matrix, where not only are the people's minds plugged into the matrix mainframe, but now they are plugged into a second matrix, which is an artificial reality in which the matrix controls the person's sensory organs. So let's just talk about, let's just say this phone, for instance, right? So we know that there's a matrix around us, one in which we didn't create. It's created by the construct and the people within power. That we have presidents, laws that we must obey, that matrix, right? So we know we have the real matrix that exists in our actual construct. But then we have a matrix right here. Like you can be so tapped into this matrix that you forget about the actual matrix that we live in every day, right? And most people live in this matrix right here, not the real world, right? If you was to just take an account of how much time people spent on social media sites versus in the real world, many of you guys will be alarmed about how much time y'all spend in your phones doing literally nothing that benefits your life, just in your phone, whether it be looking at gossip, looking at different things, keeping up with what's going on in the matrix, like different celebrities, scrolling your timeline, checking out what's going on with your friends or whatever. This is something that we use now, and it has become a big part of our matrix, and it has become a matrix really of its own, right? Many of us act differently while we're in this matrix than we are in reality. We look at them and we call them trolls, but we know people who exist within this false matrix right here, who become someone totally different, and they insult you, call you names, threaten you. But if you see them outside of this matrix right here, they won't be doing any of those things, right? and people become a totally different person in that world, right? In that fake world, social media, right? They go by different names, whatever, weird names even, and they do different things that they wouldn't do in the regular matrix, right? Maybe they look at this as an opportunity to be themselves. So maybe what you're seeing on their matrix, their social media, more so corresponds with the matrix with the person that they are inside. But it's always going to reflect the information that a person has. When you look at a person's wall or their posts on a social site, you can tell a lot about how that person thinks and what they're into, simply because you can be no one other than who you are anyway. You understand? Like you can be different aspects of yourself. Like you might go on to Instagram and be sexy lady 22 or whatever, but that's still an aspect of yourself, where you might have your regular name on Facebook where you deal with friends and family. Then you might have a page on Instagram where you do this, or you might have another page on Facebook where you do this or whatever. But all of these things are reflections of you. You can be any of those things and all those things even at the same time. But it just shows how you immediately know who you are when you log into each matrix. Whenever you're logging into Sexy Lady 22, you know how Sexy Lady 22 responds, acts, and everything. But when you respond from your personal account, you know how to respond and represent yourself as well. Maybe you got to keep a job or whatever. Maybe you got to appear a certain way or whatever to the people around you. But we know that you're not going to be Sexy Lady 22 when you on Facebook. I know that much, because who is Sexy Lady 22? Like, right? Y'all going to look that up on Instagram and swear I know that person, but I'm literally making that up. At Sexy Lady 22. But everybody knows that the person who is ex sexy lady 22, when she's whatever her real name is on Facebook, she doesn't act the same as she does on the other page, because she knows how to play her part, her roles. That's why I say this right here can be really dangerous. You see what I'm saying? Because you're being someone totally different in here, and it can be deceiving, because when you're meeting someone on here, and you're meeting them performing how sexy lady 22 would act, which is outside of your normal nature and what you would appear to be to other people. And then you meet sexy lady 22, or that person meets you because you were trying to be this different person, and now you can't turn on that personality that you were giving them, right? It's going to look a little bit out of character, right? Because now you're shy, because you've now came outside of into the real world, trying to be sexy lady 22 in the real world, and now you're not going to be able to do it without looking nervous, right? And the people around you can tell that you're not who you appear to be on Facebook or whatever. It's not so much as just catfishing somebody with a picture. You can catfish someone with who somebody really is by just the person they portray themselves to be on a social media site. So we know that how a person looks on their site may not be who they are or how they are at all, right? It's just a different matrix. Yeah, he did pay homage. He had a real good show breaking down the internet, going in different rooms and stuff like that. I hear you, Rosie. I got you, Sosa. So I guess I was right reading that as a associate though. Goku, and you got a point there. Goku says some women act innocent, but again, when he said act like a thought, again, we're using a social construct to classify a person or call a person a name. That's ego, so I wouldn't root for that. But I would say that some women do, or some people in general, men and women, portray a different image online than they are in the real world. This is a fact, and maybe it could be now because you use women in particular, Goku. Let me play devil's advocate and defend beautiful women just for the sake of playing devil's advocate. So, and you look at a world where you say women play innocent on Instagram, but in reality, they actually will have sex or whatever. And of course, you use the word thought. We're not going to go off of that. That's just the world's construct. So we don't call people thoughts, hoes, anything like that, right? There shouldn't be any negative stigma that goes along or attaches to somebody who's living their life or their best life or whatever. If two people want to have sex, that's up to them, right? It shouldn't be a title associated with that. But let's just look at the construct that we're in. The construct that we're in is even why you refer to them as a thought. Because no, don't apologize, because it's just the construct we live in. You didn't do anything wrong. You're acting according to the matrix. You see what I'm saying? So the matrix says thought. The matrix says hoe, right? Because we're taught to see them that way. But that's just not how it works. You feel me? So if that's the case, we have to be thoughts. We have to be hoes too, right? So we can't ask a woman to behave in such a way and then not ask a man to behave in that way, right? So this is what I mean. So when you look at why a woman would behave a certain way on a social media site, which would be innocent, and then act differently, or be more willing to do sexual things or whatever when not in front of a camera or not on the internet, is because of the negative stigma that goes to women when it comes to their sexuality. You have to understand, man, women probably feel 10 times more guilty for having sex than a man would feel for having the same sex. You understand? Because a woman has been taught that there's a certain time frame that must go by before she has sex, or she's deemed a hoe, or there must be a certain number of men that she sleeps with by a certain age, or there can't be a number of men that she sleeps with over a number that she sleeps with by a certain age, or she's considered a hoe as well. Men don't really have to live up to these standards, man. So that creates another false construct for the woman to adhere to or live up to be like he said, Payama said, sexual oppression. Absolutely. And I always wondered that in school, which is really why I've never called a girl a hoe. Um, a slut, anything like that in real life. Like even in situations where I'm about to be intimate with a woman and she may say something like, I don't want you to look at me like a hoe. Every time in my mind that this happened, even as a youngin, man, I would say, I wasn't going to see you like that anyway. Like, I guess I've never been plugged into the matrix where I judge people based on how many people they slept with. Thank you very much, Black Caesar. That just wasn't something that was important to me. I didn't care. I didn't care how many people you've been with before I met you. I knew that had nothing to do with me. So, I mean, I guess to me, my mind just never really went there. So, but of course, when a woman says, I don't want you to think I'm a hoe or whatever, my thought would be, why would I think you're a hoe? I thought I was special. I guess I would much rather believe that I'm special and that she's having sex with me quicker than she does other people before I would say, man, she must do this with everybody. So I guess my mind worked a little bit differently. But even if it did, even if I did think that she was doing it for everybody, that word hoe or anything like that wouldn't come in my mind because I don't feel like a person should be judged because they enjoy sex. I think that's really crazy. Now, if you're a religious person and you're supposed to believe that you have to be married, but again, that's a construct that you have to think inside of that construct to be a part of that religion, which makes you a slave. And that's my whole point. Um, Sex is not something that's cruel or anything like that. But if you are a Christian, then you have to believe that it's bad if it's done and you don't have if you're not married. Same thing with many other religions. Absolutely, I am said. The Matrix definitely causes us not to appreciate and praise women. In fact, they put women at the very bottom of the social scale, making them have to live up to a man standard, not the other way around. You see, when it comes to how a woman should carry herself, so men feel more um, men feel more responsible for telling a woman how she should live than the other way around. I mean, how many people they should sleep with, what kind of job she should be doing, how much say so she should have in the household. All these things are kind of held over women's heads as something that she can't do or is limited to do simply because she doesn't have a penis. You know what I mean? So thank you very much, Lynn Unleashed. Indeed, I will. That's right, Tim. Religion teaches us not to smash. That is absolutely correct. Control the reproduction of the society, right? Jesse Lee Pearson, I'm not sure that I know who that is. Absolutely, Tamasha Hunter. And marriage, she put in quotes, is just permission from the state to love. Absolutely. And at a different tax rate. That is absolutely true. That's all marriage is paperwork at a courthouse in which you respect or whatever. And many people still want to get married today. I understand that. But that is simply because it is the matrix. It is the matrix that has given us this concept, this ritualistic tradition. And now we look at it as something that's holy or something that should be continued on. And most women, even to this day, value the idea of getting married, even including paperwork. Let's take a census now. If you're a female, okay, and you're on tonight, give me a yes if you still prefer marriage, even knowing that marriage is not something that's required by God. And it's okay if your answer is yes. I just want to show people that there are still women in the world, even with the knowledge of marriage not being something that's demanded or prerequisite to God, that still like to be married or would like to be married one day. Candy says no. Jane Bond says no. Okay. So I said a lot of women say no. I have met a lot of women, guys, who still like the idea of actually being married, literally getting paperwork done, the whole 9 yards. Absolutely, Melinda. They do what they want, right? They just says, okay, no, okay, not in the traditional sense, okay. Tamasha, not in the traditional sense. Does this mean you would get married? Is in like a meeting or to get like a ceremony in front of people, but not require paperwork? Is that what that means? Or would you still require paperwork? Nope, don't believe in marriage. Okay, so pay homage says women crave validation. No offense, and no, I appreciate the comment. But if you think about it, if you withhold something from any person, you will make them crave that. So women have been taught that they need our validation. So if we're looking at the seed or the origin, the chick which comes first, the chicken or the egg, we'd have to say that the creation of the need for validation came before women needing validation. If when you're looked at, when the man is supposed to be the person that's in charge, he who finds a wife, right? Do what your husband wants you to do, or you're in sin, especially in Islam, right? In Christianity as well, women can't even speak in church. Men are deemed the head of household and the authority figure. It's no doubt that women crave crave validation in a world that is so reluctant to give it to them. Simply because a woman has a vagina, she was told that she couldn't vote. You understand what I'm saying? So they created that need in women to have that sense of validation. And we can say that we could take that need and apply pay homage to black people in general, or people who identify as black in general. That validation need is probably higher in them than in any other race, simply because they've been held down at the bottom for so long and made to believe that they weren't valuable anyway. It's amazing how these things happen. And that's why I always say, if we blame the person for their actions, then we're going about it the wrong way. We must try to understand why they act that way. If we're all robots, we can never blame the equipment for being faulty. We have to understand what's going on with the equipment, right? Let's see here. Tim Thomas said, why do most women I meet ask me, over 40, ask me if I go to church? Things like that. Hey, man, listen, it's a lot of value that goes into a man that is supposed to be God-fearing. Right? That's true, pay homage. It says that society makes the best traits of women into negative connotations. That's absolutely correct. If a woman is standing up for herself, being strong, if she's black, she's bitter, all this trying to control the room, all this stuff. So they always try to make her seem like a horrible person, even when she defends herself. It's crazy. Just for all of the trolls, if you think I'm going to respond to you, I'm not. You don't exist to me. My brain is on a whole different dimension than you. You don't even exist in my matrix. All right, so I'm about moving forward in the mission. If responding to you will not help my mission, you will get ignored. Dang, I am said. He said the idea of marriage messes up the ability for people to stay together unmarried. That is absolutely true, man. Uh, a lot, like even with Beyonce, if you like it, put a ring on it. And now you'll have women that tell a guy, on into the relationship, man, it's been entirely too long. We've been dating for too long. How much longer do you plan on dating? Do you plan on marrying me? Because they believe that at some point a relationship is supposed to go to a next level, right? And I'm telling you, man, this is how people think that's a part of the matrix. It's like they're needing that next thing to give them life. You understand what I'm saying? They needing that next thing to make them feel like it's a pivotal moment in their life for them to be, for them to change, or for it to symbolize a new beginning or something greater for them, right? And it's almost like that next meal. That's why, like, a person who's deep in the matrix, they can't eat the same thing every day. It becomes boring and mundane, and they need excitement. And it's not so much that they can't eat the same food over and over, as much as it is they need it presented to them in a different way. Like, you might have chicken breasts, chicken nuggets, chicken fries, all this different chicken burgers or whatever, and a person might feel differently because they're eating a different form of chicken every day, but chicken is chicken. You might go from steak to beef burger or whatever, but cow is cow. You might go from pork chops to bacon, but many of us eat the same things every day. It's just given to us in a different way, and this keeps the mind thinking that it's something new, right? And it gives you some type of gives you life, so to speak. You see what I'm saying? And the same thing with marriage. When you get married, you feel like it is the next level. You feel like it's really something. Oh, and even early in a relationship, when you go from dating from just talking and just dating to saying we together, it's a feeling that goes along with that. Like, it's the next level, a next step in our relationship. You feel me? And we don't think about every day in your life is the next step in your relationship, not a difference because you can't change the status of love, right? So you can't go from just saying we're dating to married and expecting the relationship to change. It's ridiculous, right? But we'll have people to say, you're going to marry me or else, right? Someone says, "What's my take on sexual orientation?" I don't have one. I don't. I feel like if someone's of age and they're not assaulting someone and what they're doing is completely mutual and they're grown, let bygones be bygones. It don't affect me. Yeah, that's another thing. Goku fanboy asked me to speak about how you never really own your home and you're always going to be paying taxes on it. That's again, we live in a matrix where we're supposed to believe and adhere to a king and offer him up without questioning. We did this for God. The Bible's God. We gave our tithe without questioning, such as we still give our taxes to a government that prints money and don't question why they need our money. Everything that you purchase in life, you're going to have to pay the government just to be able to purchase it. You pay for the right to spend your money. That's what a tax is. I'm really trying to see what my man begging for change said because people are responding to it, and I must have missed that. Cassius. Right, because at the end of the day, it's not relevant, right? On who takes whose name or whatever. The whole point is that you're a team and you work as a unit, and you know that you are one, or at least under the idea that you are one. But the process surrounding marriage, as I believe, is what makes us feel like it's deeper than what it is. Just because we go to a courthouse and sign papers with people that we deem that are in charge of over us. That's right, Riri. You absolutely do not get a receipt. I know, bigger for change. I see that. And that should always be happening, man. We should always be trying, be connecting with each other, man, in whatever way possible, man. We shouldn't be out here shy and scared to talk to each other, man. This world is completely against us and our way of thinking, so we must stick together and be able to talk with each other, man. Get close to each other. Why not? Wow. I am set says freedom is having your own space. People would kill you over the space at home, but not over our space here on earth. Absolutely. But again, giving it that name, home, it gives it a different feel. Just the fact, even if you rent the place, when you step on that piece of land and walk into that stick built house or brick built house, it feels like it's yours and you feel safe there because you call it home. That's where you live. And if somebody walks on that property, you feel like you have more control to tell them to get off of your piece of land than any other piece of earth, even though you don't technically own it anyway. But because you signed the deed to the land, now you believe you own it and you act as such. You literally even act with authority as if you really own that piece of earth. You see what I'm saying? But that's just, of course, the matrix, man. We really believe what they tell us. That's right, Reed Lou. I remember coming up too when oral sex was taboo. I remember growing up and women everywhere be like, I don't get ahead. And dudes was like, I don't be going down on no girl. We'll clown each other. Dudes was like, I ain't never went down on nobody. But again, that's about ignorance. It's not really understanding. The mind isn't mature, and so you're going to talk like that. But as you get older and you understand, your mind don't think like that. Because if you think about it, when it was taboo to us and we were talking like that, shoot, our parents weren't. They were well into the finer things in life. we was just thinking it was nasty. You got to think at one point we were saying ill to kissing, right? But it's all based on your mind and the maturity of your mind. The maturity of your mind that even cause you to not even want to look at some things, i.e., kissing. Just like the maturity level of your mind will cause you not want to look at truth because it's so upsetting to your prior paradigm. And you taught that kissing is bad early, so that it looks disgusting because you taught it's bad. I wonder what would happen if you were to, if two adults were to share a kiss in front of a child that had not been told that kissing was bad. I bet they wouldn't look away and close their eyes. You see what I'm saying? But that's just how we're taught. I know, Candy, some people still think that way. Yeah, and of course that's true. I actually worked with a guy that said that he refused to let his wife do oral sex on him because it was a sin, and he valued her more than that or something like that. I was like, you crazy, but because I was a Christian then, and I was like, I don't know what scripture told you that you can't do oral sex. You better get up out of here. But he definitely was thinking that he was saying that oral sex was the devil's play toy, and that Christians should stay away from it at all costs. I was like, dang. Yeah, Eden, I believe you. Dang. The beg for change. Nothing but missionary. Goodness gracious. Man, that's nuts. God even telling you how to have sex now, huh? What'd he tell dogs? Only doggy style? Unreal, man. Right, and the same people eat pig on Sunday, something that's actually going to cause harm to your physical body. And that's what I mean, man. It's like people they're not conscious because they're not actually thinking. A conscious person is not thinking. Like when you sleep, are you thinking or are you dreaming, right? Whenever you sleep, they call it a dream because you're not thinking, right? You're dreaming. And that means you're unconscious. Well, a conscious person doesn't dream because they're conscious. They think, right? I don't think I did, Candy. Let me see if I can go back up a little question for you. Did you know that sodomy is also oral sex? But if you let the Bible tell it, well, No, actually, I did not know that oral sex was actually included in the definition of sodomy. No, I did not know that. That's news to me. Right. Black Caesar says just like they told him in school. No, no. As far as women and being controlled, they told women, if your shorts or your skirt is above your knee, then it's too short. And men weren't given a standard like that to adhere to. Only women were. So even when a man acts outside of how he should act, and he's really aggressive with a woman, he likes to even say that's how she was dressed. And if you don't want to be treated like that, don't dress like that. If you don't want to be treated like a hoe, don't dress like a hoe. As if how that woman is dressed justifies his actions. Like you're a grown man, right? And you shouldn't act like a child. You should be able to restrain yourself. So even if she was naked, it doesn't give you a right to treat her like that. You feel me? She's still a person, and every person deserves respect. So even if she walk around naked, you should treat her like she got clothes on. You know what I mean? That's right, Tim. Women don't have much value at all when it comes to religion. They are only seen as useful by way of childbirth or cleaning up behind a man, right? Whatever. So it was always the man who was the man who was, again, just quote unquote the man, right? He had all the power when it came to in Bible times or whatever, or literary Bible times, of course. I'm trying to keep up with y'all. We about to close out though. So guys, so when it comes to dealing with the matrix, guys, um, I said it right before the show, before we actually got into it, that you can't unplug from it. You have to simply learn to maneuver in it and learn how to prosper inside of the matrix or around the matrix, because we don't control this matrix. It's already been controlled, and so we got to make the best of it. I was telling Josh about, and I know you guys can relate. When you walk into a Chinese or Japanese restaurant, you look around the whole restaurant, you see their family members and things like that helping out inside of the restaurant. Things like that, I believe that we need to start picking up and doing. You don't see Chinese people for the most part working for people, right? Japanese people, you don't see them going to work for other people. You see them having their own, right? We don't see them just coming to this country and just saying, I'm gonna go get a job, right, and clock in every day for somebody. Many of you can probably say, I have an Asian person or two that works with me, but most of the time you see Asian people at work, they're at their own business. Okay, they're selling you something. You're gonna see them at your hair salons, your nail salons, owning, of course, food places and things like that, and they employ their own, right, even their children and things like that as well. So I got you, Riri. We definitely need to get into some of those type of discussions. I'd rather have some of those with Lorenzo on. He studies that really heavily. But again, guys, when you plug into the matrix, just knowing how to carry yourself, man, and knowing what it takes to bring about success and end this drought for us, because we got to be better, man. We got to begin to create a better world, and that means putting our mind towards things that can make our environments healthier. Okay, creating businesses and things of that nature. We have to actually put thought into how we can create these things. Some of us have never taken the time to even price the monthly rent on a building, right? To even be able to run the business that we're talking about running. We talked about earlier that your limbs should bear fruit. Well, what fruit do you bear? I'm not asking you what do you do to make someone else money. What do you do to make your boss, the owner of the company that you work for, richer? I'm asking you, what fruit do you yield on your own? And if you can't think of anything, then you should start. You should you should start trying to think of what can I do that can create a life for me, right? Is there any things that I have, trade skills, gifts, talents, anything that can yield an income for me personally? Can I create my own fruit, right? Instead of going and working and giving someone else my energy, right? Is it possible? This is the thought that we should keep going forward. What can we do to create something in which we're not clocking in every day and really being a part of the matrix by way of being controlled? We can level up in the matrix, but in terms of completely unplugging from the matrix, it's just not going to happen. We live in a world where the government controls everything. So in terms of working within the matrix and manipulating the matrix, we can do, right? By understanding the matrix, we can make it work towards us. But in terms of totally becoming not a part of the matrix, it's not going to happen. So what can we do, right? If you don't have the funds to create the business of your desire, the one thing you should ask yourself is, do you have the mentality? Have you actually put it in writing? Have you actually thought about what it is that you want to do? And if you haven't done that, it's too early to talk about money. You wouldn't know what to do if you had the money anyway. And it probably explains why you spend your money foolishly anyway. And that would be because you do not have a plan. I think that we should, number one, come up with a plan, an individual plan first, something that you can personally do to bring in income to your family, right? And then a group plan, something we can actually do to make the world around us a better place. And this is how we can learn to maneuver better inside the matrix, man. Look at these people, man. These Chinese and Japanese people, they hire their own kids. They be having their 7 to 8-year-old kids and they're answering the phone, taking orders, everything. You see what I'm saying? We don't think that way, but we got to start. You see what I'm saying? We really have to start using the people around us as assets and resources to be able to accomplish to be able to accomplish the goals that you have in mind. You're not going to be able to do it on your own. That's absolutely right, Eden. She said, if we are leaving our children an inheritance, we are squandering our lives because jobs cannot be inherited. You cannot leave your child a job in a will. You cannot leave them insurance in your will. You understand? You literally can't. You don't own it. Thank you very much, Earl. Indeed, brother. That's true. Learn every skill that you can, guys. Make yourself more accessible, right? To where where your gifts can be used to be able to earn an income for you. That's honestly one of the smartest ways to maneuver, man. Trade skills, not so much of going to college and spending a whole bunch of money on something that you're not going to need anyway. But I'm talking about simple trade skills. Now, you remember how they used to let people take plumbing and welding and wood cutting and stuff in school? Well, now they're taking all that stuff out. You see what I'm saying? So they know that you need these trades to really be able to survive in this world. You're always going to need those type of things, you know. Um, but again, we don't put a whole lot of time and effort into what we want to do with our lives. We just simply go with the flow. We wake up every day, go clock in, and we get home and we rest up and do it the next day. And we don't really take time to think about it, really, because they don't give us time. If they can keep you busy, struggling, when you're not at work, you're worried about how you're going to get the money to pay your bills. And when you're at work, you're just trying to keep your job. And how can you be productive in your personal life and in your children's lives by giving them the information and knowledge they need, number one, to be the best that they can be, and by be able to give them the finances that they need to be the best that they can be. You understand what I'm saying? There are many people who think that they're doing fine and still can't do some of the things that people with a lot of money can do. Put their children in different things, build their talents like music classes, extracurricular activities, things of that nature. You don't have the finances to be able to do any of these things. Even sports cost money now. Thank you very much, Riri High. Actions speak louder than words. Really needed that donation. Thank you very much, Linda Adams. Actions speak louder than words. So again, guys, just in wrapping it up, understanding that in the matrix you have agents around you everywhere. You yourself can even be an agent. So even when you begin to put some of those ideas in the atmosphere in some of your people who you call your friends and family's ears about some of the things that you want to do and accomplish in your life, when they laugh at you and they tell you it can't be done, remember they are an agent. Okay? Remember that. When you say something that does not fit someone else's paradigm, they're going to tell you it's not possible, right? Sometimes you have to understand that you didn't ask them to approve of it, right? Frankly, you don't need them to approve of it. You was just bouncing an idea off of them. And don't be so quick to tell a person that something won't work if you haven't done any thinking either, guys. So that's the one thing. So if someone's going to come to you with their dreams and goals, try not to be a buzzkill. Try not to be somebody who just tells them it's a horrible idea, anything like that. Because understand they're just telling you, it's not up to you. And they're not asking you necessarily for you to tell them if it'll work, as if you're a connoisseur or some kind of professional in that area either. Just learn to be more gentle with people, man. That way people will be more outspoken with opening up to you and expressing some of their higher desires. Because we keep a lot of that stuff private. What you talk about out loud, that's the stuff that you can create. And so I really want to start saying some of the things that we believe in inside of our minds out loud and get some of that stuff out into the public, because you never know who can help you with that. Chris, it popped up in your recommended because it's for you. You need to be watching it if it popped up. All right, guys. So it's 10:30. We've been going 2.5 hours. My goal is to keep it around 2 hours. So that was the third part of the Matrix, guys. Hopefully you guys got something from it. Hopefully now we can walk away from this knowing that, of course, again, reiterating, every person can be an agent. People can become agents out of nowhere. Even you can be an agent. The Matrix is the world that we live in. You can't see it. You can't taste it. You can't touch it. You cannot feel it, but it is there. It 100% exists, and it exists to control our mind, hold our minds back. Our goal is to be able to maneuver through this matrix without the matrix taking control of us, right? So the religions that the matrix offers, the ways of thinking that the matrix offers us, the racism that the world offers us, the unfair constructs, misogyny, right? Um, uh, Sexism, all these things that the matrix offers us and tells us how to be. We ignore those things, right? Because they're not us; they're the matrix, and we don't need to be a part of those things or whatever. So we're Neo. We're separate from the matrix, but we have to plug in every now and again. Still learning and growing. Okay, indeed, Candy. Right, Tim Thomas. It is a prison for your mind. And now it's time to, again, I talked about earlier how a plant can be reduced in size by simply reducing the size of the pot, right? I got a song where I said, A woman told me that it's time to replace the pot when the flower that's in it grows out, right? So replace your pot, right? In other words, matter of fact, we don't even need a pot. It's time for us to go outside and grow. We're going to grow outside of the matrix. We're going to remove the pot, okay? This way we're free thinking. Our roots can go wherever they choose to go, right? We're going to completely remove the pot, and our roots can go wherever they go. That way we can grow as big and as strong as we can possibly be, and our limbs can yield the best fruit, right? Or the best nourishment for ourselves and the people around us, because we would have become strong enough to be able to produce the best possible fruit that our world needs to survive, right? Because we've now essentially taken the helmet or the pot off of ignorance, right? So that should be the goal for us. That's the thought I want to keep in mind, is that we've removed the pot. Now it's time to start taking responsibility for our roots, right? And now we understand that things that our life can be better, and the lives of the other ones can be around us can be better, and it's simply by growing, simply by taking in knowledge, making a conscious decision to become more knowledgeable about the world around you and how to maneuver in that world and how to make it a better place. That should be the key. Make the world a better place by becoming the change, right? Guys, we're getting closer to getting a date on the gambling. I was about to say the gambling spot. We're getting closer to getting a date on the gathering spot, and so I will get that information to you soon. So what, Josh?
I wish we had a gambling spot. That'd be a lot of money.
I know, right?
Granted, kind of defeats the purpose of what we do, but still. Money.
Yeah, I know, right? But hey, if it bring in money, as long as we're doing something positive with the money, man, hey. And that's another thing too. People, like, we always talk about donating, and we feel like, hey, it should be somebody reaching into their pocket and just freely giving something. But a lot of people don't think that way. So if you can give somebody something of entertainment, something that they want to do, as long as you're still going to use the funds for the things you're going to use them for, then I say give it to them. Which is why we want to do a gala, a place where people can come to, enjoy that place, drink, eat, be merry, all that good stuff. And for the price of your admission ticket, we'll be able to help people. And so it's not necessarily just saying, hey, reach into your pocket and and give us something so we can continue our mission. It's, hey, come on out and enjoy yourself and don't worry about the rest, because you're gonna go somewhere else and have fun anyway. Might as well come have fun with a whole bunch of people a whole bunch of heathens, right? That's right, Black Caesar. Loosen the mental constipation. I agree. Thank you guys for all of your donations tonight. Again, next week we're going to be back dropping some more heat on the Truth Factory. Thank you guys for tuning in. I love you all. Is there any last words from you, Josh?
No, not at the time.
Okay.
Like you said, we'll just keep them updated when we get the gathering spot situated.
Okay. Everybody, make sure you go look at betheevolution.org. We do have a couple backpacks up now. We know that school's starting back soon. We will be getting some things put together, packages-wise, for your children going to school. So if you have not bought school supplies and clothing yet, don't, okay? Because myself and Josh are going to try to come up with some ways to get you guys some things that you need and get your child some things that they may need that other places can't give. Hopefully we can give them more than another place can. So just stay tuned, guys. We're going to be giving you guys those packages soon, where you'll be able to get the supplies in terms of backpacks and school clothes for your children as well. Why not have them wear more winners instead of wearing Tommy Hilfiger and Nike and Jordan and stuff like that? Let's begin to support each other, family. Again, be the change you want to see. But anyway, guys, that's it. I love you guys. I'll see you guys on next Sunday. Be the change you want to see. And no candle loses its flame by lighting another. That's it for the Truth Factory, guys. Peace.